Pigs.
Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 6th of February, 2022. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, 6 naked pigs. No, Zachary Burgess is here.
Definitely 0 naked pigs.
Okay. Rob again.
Would that make each of us
2 pigs? Yeah. Stacked on each other.
I have the value of double swine. Wait, but okay, that means if there's 6 naked pigs, is that a pile of swine?
Definitely a pile of swine.
Pile of swine.
I suppose 2 would be enough to be a pile.
To be a pile. So is that 3 Pokemon total?
Yeah, I guess so.
But it could be 1 Pokemon, right? A pile of swine. It could be 6
Is it just
in a pile.
But is one just on top of another if it's just 2? And does it have to be 3 to become a pile?
Well, the swine...
Is it like the couple or more, or several kind of thing?
The Pokemon it evolves from, Swinub, it's just a small one and it gets bigger. It's not like Magneton where you get 3 of them and they join together.
Right, exactly.
You don't get 2 Swinubs that sit on top of each other and turn into a pile of swine.
Or Doug Trio.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Doug Trio.
I mean, but they're not really
Although I don't think
pile formation.
I don't think Dugtrio has ever specifically at any point in the Pokedex said that it is literally 3 Diglets. Unlike Magnemite and Magneton, where it literally is 3 Magnemites.
But how does that work with evolution for the Magnetron guys?
Yeah, don't you have to have caught 3 of them?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't consider that in the game, of course. Of course not. But, I mean, they could have done that at some point once they started getting into, like, very specific evolutions.
They probably should have.
But then it'd be very easy. You wouldn't even need to level them up. You just need to catch 3.
Well, I mean, there could be a level condition as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Where, like, once one of them reaches a certain level, it pulls in the other 2 or whatever.
Yeah, you have 2. But can you, like, go, like, if all 3 of them were high-ish levels, when you, like, and then they, like, does that affect their stats?
Well, yeah, that would be the question. Would it transfer any stats at all, or would it just not bother and just only count the main one? Because then that would make it slightly easier, because then you could just catch 2 other garbage ones and not bother training them at all.
That's true.
And then it would affect...
Oh, you need the garbage Pokemon now.
Well, that just gets bigger when it evolves, so I don't know if you need 2 of them. Maybe. But it still looks like 1 garbage bag, so maybe not. Maybe feed it trash and then it gets bigger.
Those banana skins.
See, these are the things that Pokemon should have done.
Yeah.
Very specific. I mean, they did start doing very specific evolutions where, like, there's Pokemon where it's like you have to have a different Pokemon in your team, but it doesn't, like, absorb it. It just has to be there.
Like a catalyst.
Yeah, like a catalyst. And then there's ones where it's like when it evolves, it turns into 2 Pokemon basically. So you have to have an empty slot in your team.
Interesting.
Sorry to go on a tangent again, but Zach, you actually concentrated and actually did chemistry, right, at like A level?
I mean,
right?
I guess.
Can you give me explain it like I5 of like how catalysts actually work?
God, not really. Remember. I mean, it's just.
Do you actually know?
Not well. I think it's very dependent on like what type of reaction it's catalyzing, because you've got like if it's using the surface of the catalyst to like hold the molecules in place, basically,
right,
while they do the reaction, or if it's like the catalyst gets involved in the reaction at some point in the process.
Right, so it like gets converted in, but some part of it converts back out again. So it's
or like it's basically like
up
becomes a placeholder atom in the structure that then comes out again at a different point in the reaction process.
I see. So you end up not losing any catalyst as a result.
Well, because that's what catalysts are for.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think surface reactions are way more common, where it's just like the shape of the things hold stuff together.
I see.
Long enough for them to react in a way that they wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah, or easier, like it positions them essentially.
Okay, gets them in the right place to do their thing. Do you know if it's like that with the ones in the cars or whatever?
I don't know. It's definitely. I mean, I don't know what the exact reaction there is, and it's distinctly possible that it might not actually be a catalyst at all because of brand names.
Converter.
But I think it is. I think it is some kind of Because what are they actually for? They're for the nitrogen, right? It's nothing to do with the actual carbon
Or
dioxide.
the nitrous,
Yeah,
I suppose.
it's like you don't want the nitrogen to go out and turn into nitric acid. That's why you have the catalytic converter, I think.
Right. Because presumably that's in a different state from like atmospheric nitrogen, which is like 70% of the air anyway, right?
Yeah,
There's no
I mean-
danger of that suddenly turning into acid.
I mean, if it was
right?
just straight up nitrogen, it'd be fine, right?
Yeah.
Like,
It's because it's nitrogen compounds and not actual nitrogen.
Right.
Because if it's
Okay.
if it's regular nitrogen, that's like triple bonded or whatever, which is why it's so stable.
It's stable, right? But this stuff isn't. Yeah.
It'll probably be well, like Rob said, it'll probably be nitrous.
it's nitrous oxide or something
Yeah,
like that.
nitrogen oxygen compounds that will
Right,
dissolve
makes
easily into nitric acid.
So just with no data, with no information, but purely speculating, does the catalytic converter hold it in place long enough so they can turn into stable nitrogen?
I
Or
assume
is it
it's
something totally different.
Or something else, yeah.
because I think if I remember vaguely, the like catalytic converters are silver based, and I think it's like it. I think it must just allow the nitrogens to bond up into nitrogen. So it's like it holds the nitrogen, oxygen, and then gets rid of the oxygen and gets two oxygens and gets two nitrogens and puts them together in the correct order instead of the bad order.
in the right order. Right. And the fact that it's silver based is why people go around
Stealing
like,
them.
nicking them off every single car in the street and then driving off.
So is there an anti-catalyst then? As in like if a catalyst aids a process, can you have something that effectively suppresses it?
Well, I mean, lots of things do that, I guess. Like any reactions that rely on pH or whatever, you can fuck those up really easily by just putting a different pH in.
It's part of the Robco's chemistry wing.
Chemistry fuckers.
Anti-catalysts, when you really want to fuck things up, then come to Rodco.
There'll be reaction fuckers, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's true. Rodco's reaction fuckers.
Welcome to the chem fuck division of Robco. Actually, that's something else.
I don't want to know about that. Let's go back to Pokemon evolution.
I guess.
Maybe it's the same thing.
Maybe it is. Hey, we got onto games pretty quick.
Accidentally.
Apparently.
It's a podcast about video games. I don't know if we've said that tagline for a while. Like, it's a podcast about video games.
That is
Well, it's just because every time we've got to the point of really starting the podcast and moving out at random, we've instead been saying there's fuck all to talk about.
Is video games still the best? It feels like an antiquated term, but
Well,
it's the
'cause,
only
yeah, the word
overarching term.
the word video is slightly odd, isn't it? Like, really, yeah.
Old-fashioned, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but your video games is kind of the only catch-all term, isn't it?
Otherwise, you
Yeah.
need to say electronic games.
Yeah, because if you say games, that it could be anything. Board games.
yeah.
It could be Carcassonne.
Yeah. Not that we wouldn't
Bridge.
talk about
Um,
that,
but if you say gaming, that's also
Bridge.
ambiguous,
Yeah.
right? Because of gambling is called gaming.
yeah.
Um,
And I don't like that term
No.
anymore, even though it's super common now.
Yeah, well, like especially in like job listings, right? Like I went through a patch of
gaming,
having like a whole heap of like, hey, I've got a job for you, and it's in the gaming industry, and like come into my LinkedIn box,
Yeah.
and it'd be like, ooh, let's have a look at this. It's like, oh no, you mean gambling? No, I want nothing to do with you. Go away.
They're like, come and work in Gibraltar. No thanks.
I'm quite happy working with video in other stupid ways. That's
Yeah. Okay. So let's stick with video games then, seeing as there's nothing better.
Well, or at least tangential news related to video games in the news section. Because I wouldn't have said much of this news about games.
yeah, yeah. It's around the games business.
Yep.
But not actually much about the games themselves. Is
Are we into news? Have we got no bullshit this week?
I mean, we could talk about.
We just had some bullshit.
Yeah, I know.
It was terrible.
Is there anything else going on? It was pretty bad. Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about. Hey, Zach and I watched the first 2 episodes of that there Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay.
That's what I thought.
I don't really have a problem with it thus far. It's just, hey, they're changing stuff, because of course they are. And it's like, I'm not sure those changes are for the best. So, it falls into... So far, it's falling into the category that I anticipated, in that it's not as good as the anime, because how could it be? But it's all right. It seems fine. I hear it gets worse as it goes on, though. The one person I know that's watched it, and who I think was the person I got into Cowboy Bebop in the first place. They said it gets worse as it goes on, especially the relationship with Vicious and stuff like that, because they focus on that a lot more here.
Right, because it was, I mean, that's the big arc, but it's deliberately mysterious and they don't focus on it on purpose. I feel like.
Oh yeah,
almost like Spike himself doesn't focus on it on purpose.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain they spoil a couple of important points like super early on, like in the very first episode. There's just like, this person is alive. You absolutely know they're alive, and it's like, oh, okay.
It's almost as if they knew they were only going to make 6 episodes or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a bit more than that. It's like 8 or 10, isn't it, or something that they've made.
They were like, we're going to get rid of all the pre-intrigue and skip straight to the main storyline.
Man, I looked back into it, like why it got cancelled and all that stuff, and it's just like, it got a smeg ton of views. Actually, it did pretty damn well. It's just,
but they were all hate views.
Yeah, maybe, maybe. But it's that Netflix balance of like, oh, that's not enough views per dollar budget or something. It's like that's what they were concerned about, but it those weren't terrible numbers.
Them's the breaks. Yeah.
Boo.
Don't boo it yet.
I'm gonna...
I should wait until you've actually seen the whole thing to decide whether to boo it.
There are much worse TV shows that somehow keep going.
Any not Boba Fett that's been on lately?
No, I haven't. Well, I haven't even started on Boba Fett yet. What do you mean by not Boba Fett? Is it like is the episodes releasing slowly or something?
No, it's like, I don't think this is a spoiler, but like it's about Boba Fett until the 4th episode, and then it just turns into the Mandalorian again. And it's like, Boba Fett's not even in this. Come back.
Okay. So is it?
Yeah.
Okay, again, not spoiling me too much, but is this basically Mandalorian season 3?
Yeah,
okay.
It's in guise, but he doesn't appear for the first. It's all Boba Fett for the first like 4 episodes or whatever.
Cool.
But yeah, it turns into Mandalorian season 2.5.
God damn it! I should hurry up and start watching this. Then. Well, actually, or should is it better waiting for like all the episodes to come out because it's more satisfying?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, you might want to have to be honest, like, because this is the thing with this is like they've got their Mandalorian and what's the other? I guess like the equivalent in the Marvel stuff would have been WandaVision. They've got
Winter Soldier or Hawkeye, I guess.
Yeah, but what I mean is that like they've got their A-tier TV series in that universe, which is like WandaVision, and then they've got their like C tier, which is like Hawkeye. Not that it's bad necessarily, but it's like not. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's the B tier one.
Not as important. Okay.
And this is the same in Star Wars. The A tier one is Mandalorian, and now this Boba Fett one is like the B tier one. It's like kind of boring, but then it just turns back into the A tier one like halfway through, weirdly. And it's like if you were just watching Mandalorian, I don't know how it's even going to work because you can't. Presumably, there will be a Mandalorian season 3, but you will have to have watched this bit, Boba Fett, to understand what's going on because it just turns into the Mandalorian in the middle. It's really weird.
Interesting.
Anyway, but not bad. I mean, it's like I was like, this is getting bad, and this is getting potentially quite boring, and then it just turned back into the Mandalorian. I was like, this is awesome again. Yeah.
Weird.
Very weird.
So. Is the whole them calling it that just a fake out? Do you think in a weird way that perhaps they should have just done a reveal halfway through and just started changing the theme tune to
Well, it's extremely weird because it has a new theme tune for the Boba Fett, but then you get like an episode of the Mandalorian, but then the end credits theme is for some reason is the Boba Fett theme. It's like what? Really weird. Yeah. So yeah. Interesting. But Boba Fett just doesn't seem very Boba Fett-like. Like, he doesn't seem like the same character as he is in Empire. He's too anti-hero-like. It would have been cool if they'd made a series about an actual villain, like.
I guess, yeah.
But yeah, I suppose they can't really do that. It's too Disney.
It's too Disney. Got to be on message.
And it spawned a few memes as well, which I'm appreciating.
But they're not prequel memes, so.
Well, technically they are.
Okay, I guess.
They're not, though, are they? It depends how you define prequel.
Well, I mean, prequel was always like before the original 3 movies, right?
Yeah, and this is after.
Is it now?
Yeah.
I thought it was still in the gap.
No,
No.
It's after the original
No,
trilogy.
Mandalorian and this one are set after, but they're before the
New ones.
Disney trilogy. Yeah,
So it is still a prequel of a different 3.
Yeah, it depends. Because
Just-
prequel means we're like, oh, we can do the Rogue One because it's technically a prequel.
Yeah.
Still.
That makes more sense.
I still
But
find
yeah,
slightly weird because, you know, the Empire's still about and all that. I suppose
What,
they didn't.
in Mandalorian? Well, they've been defeated, right?
Yeah, it's just slightly. I suppose they wouldn't have killed the entire Empire in that one battle in Ewok Planet.
They probably would have killed
Like-
quite a lot of them, though.
Yeah,
All of the people on that one big station.
That's true.
And also the Superstar Destroyer as well. Let's not forget that one.
Yeah. All those independent contractors.
Yeah.
They knew what they were getting into. Yeah. Anyway, TV,
it's TV.
sci-fi TV. And the Lord of the Rings thing is coming. They release some posters.
I watched the King's Man in film stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know, the third Kingsman film.
Uh-huh.
It was actually surprisingly all right. Like,
Oh really?
you know, in the it's a bit of a departure from like how the first 2 films are because we actually watched Kingsman Golden Circle the other night as well because Gnome never saw that one, and which is the second one, and it's just that Gnome did sort of say halfway through, it's like, this is terrible, but
Right.
it's incredibly entertaining.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I have to agree. It's absurd and stupid, but it's a whole lot of fun. Whereas like Kingsman changes the tone. It's like it's pretty self-serious in a lot of ways, and it's still dumb, but like the tone is a little more. I mean, it plays with like this is the real reason that World War One happened and things like that. It's a strange. There's this other thing pulling the strings.
Right. Conspiracy stuff.
Yeah, so it's pretty stupid in a lot of ways around that stuff, but yeah, in other places it's actually oddly, maybe poignant's not the right word.
Well, probably not.
No,
Poignant.
but yeah, oddly serious. But it was all right. It was okay. It's got Voldemort in it, so you know.
That would definitely be the secret pulling the strings. Where it's like it crosses over into Harry Potter.
Yeah.
The secret of why World War One started was wizards.
Yeah, a wizard did it.
I mean, I always kind of wish that Harry Potter did a bit more of that. Honestly, like,
Well,
it's like 'cause
apparently,
they're
isn't
operating
that what happens?
they're operating so close to the to Muggle world. It's like surely there'd be more fallout from either side.
But isn't that? I mean, I haven't seen any of the Fantastic Beasts stuff, but it's set. That's prequel stuff, so it actually
Yeah.
gets into like World War II kind of territory, and it's
Yeah.
like that
Yeah,
kind
I
of
don't-
screws everything up because wizards could easily stop that.
Yeah, I don't really know because I only ever watched the first Beast. I haven't watched
I haven't even seen that.
the follow-ups. But yeah, I'm not sure it's hugely touched on in the first one. Not that I remember much of it.
I mean, I haven't seen them at all, but I've heard that apparently, like the evil plan of the bad guy in the second one is to stop the
Grindelwald.
Holocaust or something.
Oh, great.
It's like what? That doesn't make any sense.
Wizard Hitler.
Yeah, it's really weird. You can hear a kettle boiling or something.
Yes, you
Yeah,
can.
yes, you can.
Probably close this door, maybe.
Yes,
But that's going to require moving this mic and my chair.
but that's why we have nice boom arms.
All right, let us return to the news, the video game news, since this is a podcast about video games.
No.
Or
I
the
hit
video
mic.
game industry news. Nothing to do with
Industry news.
Yes. Vaguely related.
Wagwan. Right.
Well, go on.
Can Rob find his news page?
Yeah, what happens is my page has disappeared. Right, okay, acquisition time. As if there weren't enough buying and selling happening in the last, year,
Well,
basically.
I mean, this is like obvious panic maneuver.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Like, after the frigging enormous buyout of Activision Blizzard by Microsoft, Sony had a little moment and we're like, okay, let's buy Bungie. Yeah, we want that Destiny, yo.
Because who knows if they're actually working on anything apart from Destiny? I wouldn't have. No
Apparently.
one's ever heard anything about
No,
that.
I don't
It's
think
just
that-
expansions.
As far as we know, there's
Oh, I closed the door, and now, of course, the cat is going to go and open the door.
the cat has opened the door.
Because that's what cats do.
Yeah, no, there's absolutely no indication that Bungie are working on anything else other than Destiny. I think they're pretty happy working on Destiny and still making more content for it and messing with it. And I'm pretty sure, like, they're in a position where I don't like, kind of like how Microsoft sort of said, it's like, hey, Call of Duty is probably going to remain multi-platform. Like, and it would be kind of madness for Sony to stop Destiny updates from coming to all platforms at this point.
I'm sure that will work fine on Xbox. And I mean,
But then
Sony
the-
are already putting things on PC, aren't they? With God of War and stuff.
Well, kind of,
They
yeah.
are, yeah.
Not as much as Microsoft, obviously.
Actually, I don't know what
No.
the situation is with like Destiny on PC, right? Because like Destiny 2 was originally Activision published, so it ended up in the Blizzard
Oh, yeah.
install. In the BattleNet or whatever the hell
Yeah.
that thing is. Yeah, the Blizzard.
Hopefully that'll die, right, with Microsoft acquisition.
if it,
Yeah,
if
I
it didn't
guess.
already die.
No, but yeah, they actually renamed it back to the BattleNet like launcher. I think
Did they? I thought it was just called Blizzard, wasn't it, at one point?
it was called Blizzard at one point. Yeah, but I think they went back to BattleNet. I don't know.
BattleNet was only meant to be for StarCraft.
Yeah, but then all of Blizzard stuff ended up on BattleNet. Like Overwatch released on BattleNet. Anyway.
But like that is the real question: is like why even bother buying Bungie if all they're doing is Destiny 2 and you're just going to let them continue putting Destiny 2 everywhere it already exists? Then what are you paying for?
I mean,
Apart from, I guess, a share of the profits of Destiny 2.
the you could argue maybe a Bungie are in a position where they do need a bit of funding to a little bit of the help from a publisher, because after they split from Activision, they've been running totally solo, and maybe that didn't necessarily work out as well, because like Bungie actually have a bit of a history of this, right? It's like they started making Halo, needed some more money, Microsoft bought them to continue making Halo. They got bored of making Halo, so left Microsoft to go do their own thing, right? And then needed money for Destiny, so got in cahoots with Activision, and then split off from Activision, and now they find themselves in a bit of a situation again. So yeah, I'm not sure this is out of form for Bungie's like behaviour.
No, I mean, this is all fine. I mean, it's good that they get support and can. I mean, I don't know. Can you scale up? Their kind of talent to do more games than just Destiny. I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe.
That'd be nice.
Well, I mean, I don't know how studios normally do it, but you can imagine that maybe they like carve their existing team in two, like one half carries on working on Destiny and like rehires to bolster that studio back up to full. What do you call it? Yeah, we need a collective noun for like a dev team, I guess. Like, I suppose it is a team, but like yeah, you build that back up to a full complement, and and the other half does the same and works on it whilst they're beginning work on a new project.
Yeah. well, so
then you end up with 2 studios.
all good. I mean, Sony buying Bungie for 3.6 billion is not equivalent to Microsoft buying Activision
It's still a
for
lot of
70
money.
billion.
It's still a lot of money for
it's
just
a
Destiny,
lot.
if you think about it.
Yeah, it's
Well,
not
that's
even
true.
like Bethesda, which was twice the money but way more stuff.
Yeah,
That's true. That's true.
it's an awful lot of money.
It's quite a lot, I suppose. I'm pretty sure Disney bought Star Wars for just 1 billion, which seems bizarre. But that was ages ago.
Yeah, but still. Yeah, it's so. Yeah, you're right. What does Sony get out of it? They get a cut out of all of Destiny numbers and whatever game Bungie make next. Probably Destiny 3. Yeah, they're within their rights to make it a Sony and PlayStation and PC only thing. Would be my
And they're
guess.
still
And then they cut
fairly-
Xbox out of it.
For that kind of genre of Destiny, then they are the main thing. Like, I thought Halo Infinite was going to be Destiny, but for Halo.
Right, but it very
But it
much
wasn't.
isn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was completely wrong about that. There isn't really any. What is there any FPSs where you go raiding or whatever? Like,
Cat's Eye 2.
by the side?
I mean, you could argue a lot of games are a little bit that way inclined, right? Like, I don't know, even like co-op shooters like Deep Rock, I suppose, are
Yeah.
kind of that way, but very light.
Yeah. Borderlands. What's going on with?
Yeah, but the Borderlands kind of, but Borderlands is even more instanced in a way. Yeah, I don't know. But then, yeah, Destiny's pretty much that, isn't it? When once you load into an area with your fire team, like it's not like it's an MMO at that point. It's like
No.
I suppose Destiny's thing is that there are MMO-ish areas, right? Or at least there were. I don't know what the game's like these days.
Yeah.
But
Oh, right. And then there was that game that totally failed that I forgot the name of, where you fly around in an Iron Man suit. That was trying to do it.
Anthem,
What was it?
yeah,
Anthem,
EA and
Yeah.
BioWare's Anthem.
BioWare one. Yeah. That it was so forgettable that I forgot it.
It took me a few moments to remember it,
Yeah.
and I played the damn beta for that game.
You played it, yeah. Right.
So yeah, acquisitions. We're not done yet. There are companies still to buy, apparently.
Yeah.
But not many, maybe. And then we're back to the monopoly question. It's like,
Right. I mean, I guess we're not in a monopoly of like the big. Is 3 companies enough to be
maybe.
like? Oh, and
Is-
while we're on this subject, Nintendo kind of explicitly got out there and said we're not that interested in acquisitions.
Well, of course not.
Yeah.
And
surely
the only acquisition Nintendo would be interested in is actually buying the Pokemon company for real,
Yeah, probably.
not just working with them.
Not sure why they don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, it would.
Well, maybe the
make
Pokemon
sense.
company's worth more than Nintendo. Like, I would,
Yeah,
not,
probably.
I would not be surprised.
Maybe just the game department. And could you do that? Do you think you can buy only the game wing of a company like that?
What, just by Game Freak?
Yeah.
I mean, possibly, but who actually owns? I mean, is Game Freak? I mean, Game Freak, I suppose, is the studio, but like,
I think it's just called the Pokemon Company is the overarching.
yeah, is Game
Company.
Freak owned by the Pokemon company?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I guess Game Freak originally owned the IP for Pokemon. Would be my guess.
I guess. And then they once it got out of just games, they had to create a company to manage the whole thing.
Yeah. The Empire. Our Snorlax Emporium needs management.
I thought that Activision Blizzard were like too big to get bought. So then they got bought anyway. So my question is it possible that Rockstar could be bought? It seems unlikely, right, that they would do that. But
I mean,
Could
that's
I-
Take-Two though.
Yeah, Rockstar is owned by Take-Two. Take-Two are enormous, but I don't think. I mean, at this point, like, yeah, I don't know that that's impossible anymore.
Is Take-Two
What?
related in some way to Tencent, or is that?
Probably.
I don't remember where the Chinese arm comes in.
I mean, Tencent have their fingers in pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the. Oh, I haven't got my phone on me to look it up, and I don't want to
Just sit in
make
front of the computer.
I don't want to make clicky clacky noises on my clicky clacky keyboard on a podcast. But I would. Yeah, I think Tencent tend to be a company that they have shares in like almost everyone.
Yeah, but they do have like actual. They're not just a share buying company. There is an actual like company there as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think they straight up own a few places themselves.
Yes.
But even the ones they have lots of shares in, they tend not to have a majority stake. They have like a 49% stake in like a great many things.
Well, obviously, that's what you do
Yeah.
if you want to potentially take them over at some point in the future.
Yeah, buy that extra 1 or 2%. They are shrewd.
But I mean, next in line.
I mean, there's NetEase as well. NetEase are getting big,
yeah, I guess.
and the Embracer Group.
I mean, next in line to get bought is probably Ubisoft.
Right. Well, Ubisoft have battled that before, didn't they? Was it?
Yeah, but now-
was it Viacom?
but now
that they
they're
had
getting-
to work really hard to.
I mean, like, the whole reason Activision Blizzard, well, not the whole reason, one of the reasons Activision Blizzard got bought is because they got in a shit ton of trouble recently that fucked up their share price and whatnot, and that has already happened to Ubisoft, it's just no one's bought them yet.
I don't think it happened as bad
Well, no.
for Ubisoft, but they've
I think it only didn't
they've kind of rode it out.
Well,
now.
the thing about the Ubisoft one is it sounds like that the situation was probably at least as bad in terms of like what happened.
Yeah.
It's just there wasn't a lawsuit.
The French government didn't care. So
Yeah,
much.
exactly.
Yeah.
The French didn't mind.
Well, all the like however many states of America it was that were actually investors in Activision Blizzard, they didn't. You know, they got sued by the states, didn't they? That were financially involved.
Well, I don't think that's really what. It was just California.
No, there were other like. I'm pretty sure there were other like minor suings going on from other states.
Well, it was California, and then it was the
California was mostly on the work practices, right? Not the financial side, though.
yeah, and then there was the I forget what the stupid acronym was. The other workplace commission. That was the two
can't
main
remember.
lawsuits.
But those are like that's the problem with government courts settlements, though. They're like tiny in the grand scheme of the company.
Yes,
generally,
most of the time. The California one was the only one that had a chance of doing some damage.
yeah, they probably wouldn't care all that much.
But that didn't matter. That wasn't the actual monetary cost of those lawsuits wasn't the thing. It was the kicking
The
people out
reputation.
and reputation damage.
Yeah. They still didn't get Bobby, really. They still
No.
didn't get him.
And they still didn't get what's his face from Ubisoft either.
Eve's Gemo.
Yeah.
Isn't the thing with Eve's that he like much less so than Bobby though? Isn't Eve like not necessarily involved, but he hasn't really done
Well, he'd
anything
like you to
about
think
it.
so.
Kind of type. Yeah. Whereas it sounds like Bobby was a bit more directly
Well, I mean,
involved.
maybe we would have found out more in the Ubisoft side if there had been a trial and investigation.
Quite probably. Yeah.
It's easier to deny when you don't have to have court records.
I don't think Ubisoft are getting bought, basically. I think Ubisoft have battled so hard to stay away from anything like that. That doesn't mean it's not impossible that someone else is going to try and do that in a hostile fashion again. But I don't think they're going to agree to be bought. They just don't. They've never given that impression. But then I suppose neither did Activision. Like. Isn't the story that like apparently like
Yeah.
Activision actually crawled to Microsoft to say please buy us?
I don't know about that. Maybe.
Acquisitions. Let's talk NFTs.
Talking about fucking NFTs and crypto again.
Okay.
Fun times.
Not fucking tangible. That's what they should stand for.
Yeah.
Tell us about Atari, Zach. What's going on?
Well, I only remembered this one specifically because, I mean, obviously it's just a constant barrage of dumb bullshit that's happening in the world of NFTs and cryptocurrency at the moment, of course.
It's such a disaster zone.
But the Atari one I found particularly ridiculous when I heard about it because Atari, bearing in mind, Atari is not actually like anything to do with Atari any longer. It's just like a company that's called Atari.
It's like a brand holding company, effectively, isn't it? They just want to abuse the name in as many ways as they can.
Yes. So what they've decided to do, which is possibly the most ridiculous thing you can possibly do with an NFT, is put NFTs into loot boxes.
Right.
Which you may notice completely negates the whole idea of NFTs being individual and unique, that they're making a randomized system to get loot boxes, and the loot boxes have rarity. And, like, those two things do not mesh.
But I mean, you could get unique things out of those loot boxes still.
Yes, but the NFTs themselves are always unique. That's the whole point of the NFT system.
Sure, but...
So every individual one is unique, and yet you're somehow going to randomize the loot boxes to have a rarity based on, I guess, what the NFT is attached to, not the NFT itself.
The thing about... So the thing I've heard, where they're trying... they're effectively trying to make this idea of like tiers of rarity in NFTs is by like using like, you know, like how like artists will put out like, this is one of only 150 prints we're making of this or something, and they'll like number them, and like serial code them, so it'll be like, this NFT JPEG, there'll only be 300 of these, and it's like, rather than just one, there'll be like there'll be like 300 unique decoded
exactly the same
versions
thing, though, isn't it?
I mean, kinda.
You're
yeah.
just saying
But because it's 300 of the same thing, even though they're all technically unique and like they're all technically, or I say they're going for the equivalent of a physical object, right?
I mean, that's what we're saying about the loot boxes, though, where it's just like, you're already, people have got, like, I don't know if it's misinterpreting or just can't manage to like actually use the actual idea of NFTs, but they're like, already we're getting to the point where it's like, no, we want the NFTs to be able to have a certain number of the same thing, even though the whole point of them is they're all meant to be unique. But we need to now we're going to create another database layer that sits on top of the unique NFTs to give all of these unique NFTs an overarching identifier. It's just like, this is getting dumb already, real bad.
I mean, I'm surprised it didn't start that way, honestly.
Well, I mean, what did it really start as, though?
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I actually like that. I mean, I don't get NFTs like at all, really.
No,
but I can understand their thinking for this layer. I totally get it. It's like you can have rare, like limited editions have a certain number that you can acquire, and like there are more limited things, and therefore they are worth more. I get the thinking behind that system. Get them out of our games, though. They make no sense, like in this.
But then, obviously, it also, you know, in no way requires NFTs as always.
No, just do it with
everything we've just talked about.
Just do it with a bloody database. And, you know, I'm sure, like, if it was a thing in a game, someone will just hack it so they have the thing anyway. You know.
I mean, I think in the case of these Atari loot boxes, they haven't even said what's actually going to be in the loot boxes. It's going to have an NFT attached to whatever's in there.
No. I mean, what even loot boxes for what?
I think it's just.
Is it like a loot crate kind of thing?
Well, they call it. This is real bad, but I think they call it the gift, as in like GFT.
Oh,
except
wow!
That's just their dumb marketing brand for it.
That's a. You know what? Hats off. That's a pretty inventive name.
But I think they're implying it's just going to be more like a, I don't know, e-card. Almost like you're going to send someone a gift that is this loot box containing NFT of whatever bullshit Atari decides to attach an NFT to a JPEG of.
So does that mean like you buy this? Okay. So there'll be like a limited number of loot boxes as well. Is that what they're trying to say?
I don't know if they've said there's going to be a limited number, which is also another one of these things where it's
what
just
do you
like...
get that could be not unique at these loot boxes, right? Because if it's full of unique stuff, like and those are the rare ones. It's like what's the non-unique element?
Yeah, what does rare even mean?
What are the common drops?
Like what are the percentages?
Because it's not like Atari have a game you can just get something for by getting like a random. This is an Atari loot box.
But I mean,
digital content.
I mean, we've got to expect that it will be just like the Konami one, the Konami NFTs, right? Where it will just be like random JPEGs and video clips of Castlevania that they've attached an NFT to. Only it'd be Atari games.
I mean, yeah. On that front, it's just If there are non-NFT elements, like I want to know what those are. There better not be credits for like the Atari VCS store or something.
I doubt it.
They have still got the Atari VCS.
Kind of. If anyone cares.
No, nobody cares, but
No.
they've got it.
And then in not exactly related, but other dumb crypto news that I heard about this week, Norton are putting a crypto miner inside Norton Antivirus.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
But, like, not stealthily, just, like, as a feature.
Oh, right, so it's like an opt-in.
Yeah, you can just turn it on and have your computer mine crypto for you while the antivirus runs in the background.
Well, okay, define the term for you.
Yeah, well, apparently Norton takes 15%, and then you get whatever's left.
You know what? That's less of a cut than I was expecting.
Well, is it though? Because a lot of crypto mining software will be like 1%.
I mean, if it somewhat smartly manages how much of your system resources it's
Considering
using,
it's Norton, that seems unlikely.
I mean, yes. I remember, it must have been like, I've only ever had Norton on a system once, and it was like super old. Like before I started having my own machines and things, it was on like a family computer when I was young, and I just remember at the time its virus quarantine section was quarantining totally normal files, things that weren't bad. And it I don't know what it was doing, but like it ended up with gigs upon gigs upon gigs of like just fail space basically. Like, and it didn't clean up its own virus definitions after itself, so that added to the space as well. You would just get all this historic unused crap. Like Norton was a terrible piece of software back then.
Yep.
Like, and it probably still is. Also, you don't need Norton. Like modern inbuilt virus checking in Windows and whatever it is you get on Mac, they're fine. They're fine.
And you definitely don't need Norton anyway. There's other better products, even if you want one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really pay attention to virus land. I just know it causes headaches.
But considering Norton,
More than it helps.
Considering Norton is taking 15%, and obviously this is part of Norton's subscription service anyway, chances are you're not even going to make any money at all, considering you're paying for the electricity to run this mine and fucking up your graphics card.
You're definitely gonna, yeah.
Right.
That is the biggest risk. Like, you're probably gonna limit the lifespan of your card. Yeah, like I wonder what is I wonder what the ratio actually is right nowadays. Like, does the power cost if you have a single PC at home, does the cost of running it actually outweigh the amount you could make?
I would imagine so at this point. It was barely even worthwhile at the start, right? Because that's why it had to be scaled so big. That's why you get warehouses full of graphics cards.
And every now and then they because I've forgotten how mining. It used to be that you got a whole Bitcoin, right? Like you mined a whole Bitcoin, and it's like but now it's like some. Like it's still a percentage chance, and now it's only like a fraction of one.
But that's because of inflation, not really the
not
the mining process.
And nothing to do with the process at all. But it was to do with how Bitcoin grew, right?
Yeah.
You know how as it approaches its theoretical coin cap. I say theoretical; it's like it's part of its rules. Yeah, the closer you get to the coin cap, the amount you can mine starts decreasing as well, elongating the amount of time it will take to reach the coin cap.
Because isn't it in a warehouse you can cool them more efficiently in bulk, right, than just air cooling with the built-in fan,
Oil dip,
or whatever. You can mechanically ventilate the warehouse.
Sure.
And I'm sure like industrial electricity rates are probably different as well.
Yeah,
Probably.
You guys, you cutting out a little bit. I might restart my router. Do you mind covering
Okay.
with some news? I shall return.
How much more news we got? Oh, we got a couple of bits.
Okay. Well, I suppose it's worth while we're on the NFT train, we can just mention a little bit that EA of all people, you'd think would be all about this right now, are actually sort of backing away from this.
Yeah, but in a PR statement kind of way, which is basically what everyone's doing it right now.
Kinda, yeah.
Because the people who jumped on immediately were like, are all like Ubisoft and Square are all hella enthusiastic, and then there's been massive backlash. So anyone who wasn't hella enthusiastic is like, well, we can still walk this back at this point.
Yeah.
For the meantime, until it cools off.
I mean, yeah, Ubisoft externally, no one sees the point because they just, well, for starters, they did it in the least interesting way, right? By putting it as like unique items in Ghost Recon Breakpoint, right?
Wildlands.
No, Wildlands was the one before Breakpoint.
Yeah, but didn't they do it in that as well? Or that first? Or at the same time?
No, I thought it was only Breakpoint, but yeah, one or two of them.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah, and they did it in the least interesting way possible. And it's like, well, okay, A, nobody cares. B, as we mentioned before, you don't need NFTs to do this kind of stuff.
You say it was the least interesting way possible, but arguably that Ubisoft implementation has actually been the best so far out of all the game companies that have tried it.
I think it's the most obvious implementation, I guess.
They're not trying to sell gameplay footage of Castlevania or anything.
No. Wasn't it weird? I suppose the weird thing about, I suppose it was an actual in-game item, and you could argue, on that front, it's the most sensible solution, I guess. The most obvious thing that game companies could do. But it wasn't like the way they dished those out kind of weird. Like, you didn't outright buy them. You like could earn them as drops if you played Breakpoint during a certain time period. Wow. So they were kind of like loot boxes and how you got them.
That could have also just been a sort of a beta testing way of distributing them, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
Reward people for playing during this testing phase.
Yeah, go play some Breakpoint, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, although it's been reported that Ubisoft has a lot of internal resistance against that as well, for I guess precisely the reasons we just mentioned. It's like nobody really gets it. Like, what's the point? Like, you can do it without NFTs. To the point that Ubisoft had to fight back. Like, or I'd say had to, but like one of they put out a post saying people just don't get it, man. NFTs, like, users just don't understand. Like, they haven't. Just give it time. Give it time. You'll see. You'll see.
I mean, that's what everyone's saying about them at this point.
To which point I say, we don't understand because there's nothing to understand. They're stupid.
Right.
So yeah, EA. Possibly once voted the worst place in America to work.
I don't think that's changed.
I mean, surely Activision should be ahead of them now.
Well, we don't actually know what's going on at EA. EA hasn't had even the Ubisoft level investigation yet.
They have not.
That's true.
Yeah. So for some reason, they did say early on, it's like, we're looking into NFT stuff, and now they've publicly come out and said, yeah, we're probably not going to do that.
So get ready for them to announce some NFT bullshit at E3 on stage.
Oh, man. Talking about impending doom, slight segue.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you disappeared and came back already. All right. Bye, Dad. Wordle got bought.
Well, yes, obviously.
By the New York Times. For I think the quote was a low 7-figure sum. So, James Wardle has made at least $1 million. Well done, James. But I couldn't help but read the follow-on reaction to this to be like, oh, I can't wait to look forward to the number of ads I'll have to swipe around to get to the actual keyboard to input my words, and the number of cookie warnings I'll need to dismiss.
Well, I mean,
and the subscription I'll have to pay.
Yeah, I mean, that's just presuming it's going to integrate into the shitty New York Times websites.
Yeah. Yeah, and news websites are kind of the worst.
Yep, they're all subscription and cookies.
And just
they're just made of subscription and cookies.
Filled with pop-ups and ads and videos, and they're just the absolute worst to use.
And no one's going to care about Wordle in about a month. And there's so many clones of it anyway that you can just play whatever the fuck version of it you want.
It's kind of odd, isn't it? The timing of Wordle was it was explosion, because that thing's been around for about
I mean, it's just Mastermind, except with letters.
Except with letters, yeah. It's exactly that.
It's not a new concept in any way.
It's not, but it's. I guess the implementation is just easy, right? Everyone, you don't even need to download an app for it. If you download an app, you've got the wrong one. Yeah, it's just easy for everyone to access. And it sparked something, but yeah, that thing's been around for like 9 months already. It just only feels like it blew up like within the last 2, maybe.
Yep.
Wordle. Well, and I suppose if like Wordle does get crap, you could just play one of the many variants.
Or like code it yourself in about 2 days.
Yeah. There'll be so many like copycats.
There already are.
Yeah. Like Wordle won't die.
Well, I mean, it will die by no one caring about it any longer. It will be just another Flappy Bird fad that goes away in a month or 2.
I kind of like the sound of Durdle of all of the ones I've come across where you're playing 2 puzzles at once, but it's like 2 idiots, 1 keyboard from NCIS, right? It's like except it's 2 puzzles, 1 keyboard. Like everything you type gets typed into both, and you've got to solve them both.
Just open 2 web pages and on the original Wordle and do that.
No, it's not quite the same though, because every one you type like enters the same letters in both, so it's like you're only like what you might have to type might help you on one side, but you're wasting your guess on the other side.
Saying. That's how it would work, right? Just open 2 web pages, you should be able to simulate that quite easily. I mean, assuming you can make your keyboard transmit to both browsers at the same time.
Oh, but I mean, yeah, you can just do it without simulating it. You can play it that. Oh, except no, Wordle actually. I don't know how it tracks you, actually. Like, because it doesn't have a cookie warning.
Right.
So I'm assuming they're not using cookies to do the I know who you are, because that's how it stops you from playing the same puzzle more than once. Like, you go to the page and it goes, well, you've done this.
Yeah.
So I assume they're IP tracking to do it. Or using some other, like, browser or device identifier to do it. I'm sure someone who's into web tech, probably called Dan, who's not listening, could have told me how that's done. Yacht Club Games. They're making not Shovel Knight.
Well,
in a shock announcement.
I don't know if it's that shocking, really. I mean, it seems like there's been a lot of Shovel Knight, because there has been like...
There's been a lot of Shovel Knight.
Like 3 games and 2 expansions or whatever.
It's been like a decade of Shovel Knight. Hello.
But I mean, it's not like super unexpected for them to make a different game.
I mean, it's about damn time, honestly. Don't get me wrong, Shovel Knight and its expansions have been excellent. And I haven't played much of their spin-offs. Like, was it Shovel Dig or whatever it is, or the puzzly stuff. But there was a battle royale or something, wasn't there? Not a battle royale, but you know what I mean, like some kind of Shovel Knight fighter or something. Yeah, I've not played any of their spin-offs, but hey, the core Shovel Knight experience has been excellent. So I'm kind of excited that they're making a Zelda-like experience as their next thing. Like a traditional Zelda-y thing, because I'm pretty sure they'll give it that NES look. They've already shown off some screenshots.
They look exactly like the Zelda tile set.
Yeah, very much. But
in a very ridiculously ripped off way.
But they'll do what they did before, and then it'll be like an old school game, but with modern ideas and just play well. You know, I think good on them. Not sure I'm on board with the name. Mine of the Hollower.
Shovel Knight, Mine of the Hollower.
No, it's not called Shovel Knight. It's just called Mina or Mina the Hollower, and I think that's kind of a bad name, but
totally unrelated then to Shovel Knight,
Nope.
apart from the developer.
I mean, I bet there'll be a
As
Shovel
far
Knight.
as we know, anyway.
There'll probably be a Shovel Knight cameo, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he's cameoed in every other game. Why not one of their own?
I mean, if anyone's going to hollow out a mine, it'll be a guy with a shovel, right?
Yeah. Miner the Hollower. Miner the Miner, surely. Hollowing is kind of mining. Kind of. Ugh. It's a bad name. You see that there Halo trailer for the TV show?
Yes. Again, it's not going to be good.
I see. I don't know. I reckon it'll be like kind of like how I'm feeling about. I'm getting the same vibes as I'm getting about Bebop right now. Right? It's like it'll be.
Yeah.
I reckon it'll be actually okay, but they're changing a lot, and it's like, well, they changed a lot in that Bebop, right?
I think Halo would work better as a short, like live action film rather than
Yeah, maybe,
a
because I
series.
don't know that there's like the series might actually be the wrong approach, because there's almost that's kind of Halo's thing, right? At least the early Halo, there isn't actually that much story potentially in the early, and at least if you like took Halo 1 on its own and tried to make a film of that would probably be okay. But like, because you don't know that much lore at that point in time, and it would probably work quite nicely as a film. But no, they've decided to, because they're making a TV series, they seem to be throwing everyone in early, like Dr. Halsey's about, and Cortana. They'll probably be looking into the relationship of Cortana and the backstory of the Spartans, all stuff that came later, and they're kind of changing how all that's coming about. Like, I don't know if we're going to get the story of Reach being part of it at all, and how like Master Chief and Cortana were just sort of hanging out on Reach.
But it does seem like it's taking elements from that early book, Fall of Reach or whatever, that then inspired the game.
The game,
Reach, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only sort of major okay, I had two things that annoyed me. Like, one, you could have put anyone in the Master Chief suit, right? Why not get someone who at least remotely sounds like Master Chief?
Right.
I'm not sure. The voice isn't sitting that well with me currently. And secondly, I'm not quite sure I like how that scene where there's the two elites with their plasma swords swiping at Master Chief actually looks. It has that slightly overly obviously choreographed look to it.
Right, like the classic prequel lightsaber battle where where it's just been, choreographed. Yeah, exactly. So that they precisely miss each other every time.
Exactly, yeah. The elites just sort of look like they're sort of standing there just going, swishy, 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 with their swords. And the Chief's just like, I know where this is going. Like, too casual. Not a proper fight.
Yeah. I mean, Paramount, right? And they're, I guess, making it.
So I don't know what
They
that means
got
for
some
like
kind of streaming service.
I don't know what that means for us in the UK, like in terms of what service it will land on. Because I think Paramount have Paramount Plus in America. But I'm pretty certain there's nothing like that here. So I don't know where it will show. Unless it just gets hosted on Xbox, or like, because Xbox still have their own video service.
Kind of surprised after all this time that Microsoft aren't massively, don't seem that involved in this.
No, I think they've mostly given up on the sort of like.
Yeah, I think they
probably wisely on the whole home entertainment
probably.
area, because they've just ballsed it up so many times in the past.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Yeah. Well, positive vibes. Doesn't look, I mean, I don't know, like the designs of things look faithful.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. Like the Pelicans look cool and stuff.
It's definitely got, it's got a look I can get behind. Apart from
it's
the
a
comedy
little bit,
Chevy, but
because the actual Halo lore is kind of a little bit grimdark, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's not quite on the Warhammer 40k level, but it is like humans are dodgy and they genetically engineered soldiers and use them as slaves and stuff like that.
But also humans are the chosen ones.
Right.
Sort of.
Yeah, the reclaimers, I guess. Yeah. So, but like, I don't know.
Chosen by the Forerunners to uphold the mantle, whatever the crap any of that means.
It's like, how cynical can you be with your sci-fi? Because obviously Star Trek is like the non-cynical one, and then Battlestar was like did a good job of being a bit more grim, but not too grim, I guess. So that's the. Can you imagine an actual TV show set in Warhammer 40k? That would be ridiculous. Anyway.
Oh, it'd probably be awesome.
Well, I think the trouble with that is that they'd have to play it as the show would have to be focused on like the normal people living in this disaster area of a universe, like the Imperial Guard or whatever, where they're just like normal dudes who have to fight in the vicinity of the Space Marines sometimes, and it sucks for them.
Yeah, like everything else. Everything sucks.
Man, that could be really good. That could be really good. Like, maybe
But
you
you
probably wouldn't be able to make like an epic, like multi-series thing out of it. But it's like a single, like maybe as like a single composed story that just happens within. A little bit like Gears of War 1, I guess. If you took Gears of War 1 on its own,
that is kind of vaguely in the same idea, I guess. But yeah, because there's no way. I don't think in that universe you could have the story be focused on the insane people that actually make up the combat of that universe.
Yeah. I suppose the closest you get are the Space Marine kind of video games, right? And there is a new one coming, right? Where there is like a normal guy, like in the
relatively speaking,
just looks terrified because the Space Marines turn up and kick everyone's ass.
Well, those are the Imperial Guards in that trailer, though, right? I think.
Yeah.
And occasionally you get some of the Space Marine chapters are slightly less fucked up than others. They might be capable of normal existence.
Yeah, I can't remember which chapter it is in. Is it the Omega guys or whatever? I can't remember the different names of them. Yeah.
But then, like, all of the opposing forces in Warhammer are even more fucked up than the Space Marines are.
And the Space Marines, yeah. Anyway, we shall see.
I mean, I don't know a lot about Warhammer, but I'd probably watch that. That sounds kind of rad. I mean, I'm tempted. I'm getting to the end of watching what I'm watching at lunch times at the moment, which is the first season of anime Eden's Zero. I'm not sure I can recommend, but I've made it this far, so I'm going to finish it. It's a bit too fan servicey. There's a lot of boobs. But not like actual, but boob jokes.
Yep.
It's one of those. Yeah, but like I'm tempted to try and watch Arcane next, which is the League of Legends thing, because
I heard that's good.
people seem to think that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Who told me it was that didn't know anything about? Oh, my brother. Yeah, he doesn't know anything about League of Legends, but he said it's great.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of. I've had similar thoughts, like people who had no knowledge of League of Legends, but they ended up watching this thing and was like, had a good time.
Yeah, you have to report back on that one.
I mean, maybe that's the actual trick, though. Maybe if you do know anything about League. Maybe you do know anything about it, you just think it sucks.
Yeah, maybe.
Like Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah. If you know too much.
I doubt it, though, because I bet, that their whole thing is to make these very interlocking things where it's like, get the lore Bible or whatever. You've got to make it very precisely fit into everything else.
The League of Legends metaverse.
Yeah. Even their weird, like, spin-off games and everything else, it's all got to fit in.
Did that rhythm game by the Bit Trip guys come out? The League of Legends rhythm game?
I don't know.
Like with the weird explosions. That's all I really know. Is a character that makes stuff explode. And he's in a runner.
Yeah, I think I had seen something about that. I don't know whether that was it coming out or just previews.
Yeah. But hey, the Bit Trip team, they're still about. We'll get to like a runner 4, I suppose.
Not exactly a concept that you need that specific team to create, I don't think.
Maybe not, but they're probably one of the best, right, for that genre.
But what is that genre? It's a scrolling screen and you push a button. That's like the least programming possible.
They're rhythm games, effectively, aren't they?
Yes, pretty much.
Nicely presented rhythm games. That is the news.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Any other news? Rockstar said they're working on Grand Theft Auto. It's other news.
That's not news.
Yep.
Water is wet. I don't know why they even bother. And apparently Skate 4 is coming.
Finally, maybe.
Yeah.
For some definition of soon.
For some definition
Yeah.
of Skate 4.
Do we want to just have a little chat about the Happy Salad League of Intrigue?
Yeah, well, I guess so. That's kind of the interface of news and games in our case.
Yeah. So
Sure.
we've
You should have opened it beforehand,
I
but
should.
yes, you should go and indeed look at the website.
I should have,
So
but
you can see our live situation.
like many others, we've started a fantasy league, fantasy critic league from fantasycritic.games. They're called the Happy Salad League of Intrigue, where we will be battling against each other to see who has the best.
Guesses at what games are going to be good.
Yeah, it's not even that though, is it? Because it's like the fantasy league is like it's okay. It's based on open critic scores, so it's like it's like a fantasy football like scenario where you pick the games for your team, effectively. But it's based on open critic reviews, so it's not just going to be games that. Unfortunately, like that's kind of the problem, like with this in a way, because it's not just games that we like and think are excellent. It's like it's got to be games that like the gaming community at large generally like. So you're better off picking safer bets than you are perhaps cult classics.
Well, maybe.
Or potential cult classics, I should say. Yeah, so we have 3 competitors. Myself, Dan and Zach.
What surprise.
Guess.
I know. As you might have guessed, the 3 competitors enter the ring. Only one will come out. Will it be Spoon Eternal? That's me. Citron or Montan, which is Dan, or Salamander Incorporated, which is Zach. Okay. Yeah, quick rundown of our picks. Salamander Incorporated has gone for God of War Ragnarok, Hollow Knight Silksong, Slime Rancher 2, Mario plus Rabbids, Sparks of Hope, which I still think is a terrible name.
Yeah.
Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Rocksmith Plus, probably the smartest pick of the whole damn lot, Triangle Strategy, River City Girls 2, and Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl. And he's counterpicked. So counterpicks are like the things he thinks that they have to be things that the other teams have picked that he thinks will necessarily might either not come out or do badly to minimise the amount of negatives. And he has to use all his counterpicks by the end of the year. He has picked Oxenfree 2, which was one of mine, and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, the sequel, whatever that ends up being, which was one of Dan's picks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Rocksmith Plus is the smartest choice there, because I reckon that will review real well from the few places that actually review it.
I mean, that is the other trick. It's like
Review it,
you have the open critic system, but if you can get niche reviews,
Yeah.
provided they still go into the
Yeah.
open critic system, then you can get really high scores on niche products.
I think that's a properly amazing pick. So, Citron or Montan has points on the board.
Well, theoretical points still, because it doesn't.
Yeah,
These games, we're not even fully through the review phase, so there's
We're
probably more
definitely
reviews
not,
that
no.
are currently coming to adjust these scores.
So Dan has picked Elden Ring, that's not far away. Sifu, which is now beginning to get reviews and is currently sitting on an 82. Any score over 70 is a scoring game, so Sifu is going to score. Stray, Breath of the Wild 2, Suicide Squad, Ollie Ollie World, which is also beginning to get reviews and is coming in at 86. Total War Warhammer 3, the Fallen Order sequel we talked about, and Ghostwire Tokyo. And Dan has counterpicked me with Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. That was a heart play. Like you'll learn, a lot of my games were heart plays, which is probably a mistake. And Triangle Strategy, one of Zach's.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Dan's. I think both of those teams look pretty strong to me. I think, yeah, Dan's looking pretty good. I know a lot of my choices on this list are, as I said, for a little bit from the gut. Like I went with what I think I'm gonna like, which is probably a terrible play, but a lot of these look promising to me. Horizon Forbidden West comes out very soon and will almost certainly review well. Gran Turismo 7 will probably review well, but hey, we just watched that state of play. like from Gran Turismo 7, and that thing, well, that looks like a Gran Turismo game.
Yeah.
It looks like it will review well, I think. I don't think there's anything in that says it won't review well.
I mean, the problem with like that state of play is it didn't actually really show much of the actual driving. I guess I suppose it's hard for a car game to kind of, especially a simulation game, to get all that. Like, hey, look at this car driving. It looks good, right? You're driving a car. And it's like, no, we've got to talk about everything else.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess it's really hard to talk about the driving model and everything, and people just assume that's a given with Gran Turismo these days, or I guess that it's good. But I mean, is it? I don't know.
My thing with Gran Turismo is I've repeated this as nauseum on the cast in the past, is that like I've never had a problem with Gran Turismo's driving model, and like for a single car on the track, it feels good. I've always had a huge problem with Gran Turismo's collision model. And that has never felt good. Because you're going to hit other cars. You're probably going to hit a barrier or two. You've got to hit a barrier or two. And it's never felt realistic or right to me. And that's sort of been a thorn in my enjoyment of that game. That and its terrible music in a couple of its more recent entries. Like terrible, terrible music.
Unfortunately, I don't think that will affect the review score, the terrible music.
Terrible music.
But anyway, you're hoping that does well.
I'm hoping it does well, because this doesn't look as bad as those last two games did, which were also reviewed well. So, I guess this is the opposite of a heart play for me in the league, because it's like, it'll review well. I'll probably not be a fan of it compared to Forza, but...
Well, we all had to pick some of the top games.
Yeah. Splatoon 3. I really hope that does well. Bayonetta 3. A risky number 4 spot for me, because Platinum haven't exactly been on... I wouldn't say they've been on fire of late. And that other game they're working on, was it Babylon's Fall? Looks pretty pants. And seems to be universally, like, reviled. Even though that thing hasn't come out yet. So yeah, risky. King of Fighters 15, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, also arguably risky, but I reckon it'll be fine. Oxenfree 2, probably fine. After Party reviewed their last game, reviewed well, even despite my hate for it. So
Another anti-heart pick, is it?
yeah, I guess anti-heart. Hellblade 2, and A Plague Tale Requiem. So we'll see how well that goes. And I've counterpicked Stalker 2 and Ghostwire Tokyo for now.
Ghostwire Tokyo just had a direct or something, or whatever it's called.
I think there's been
State of
some
Play.
previews of it.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of looks cool, but I still can't tell. Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like, I thought it's a horror game, right? But like, it's like but it looks like a kind of...
It's sort of not.
An FPS kind of...
Yeah.
I mean, spells.
I'm not sure it's really I guess...
And it's open world?
Yeah, I think like, the enemy designs like evoke a horror game, but I don't know if the game actually...
Yeah.
It's never really looked like it plays or feels like a horror game, so it's like... Maybe...
It's kind of reminding me of like BioShock with the stupid vigors or whatever, tonics or whatever they are.
Yeah.
And do you remember The Darkness? That first-person game where you had like
the sort of
venom
twin
inside
snake
you.
guys.
Yeah. I remember Jackie playing that. That was really weird.
Yeah. I do remember
Yeah.
that. Although my mind did immediately go to the band when you said
Right,
The Darkness.
yeah,
Do you remember The Darkness? It's like, yeah, I remember
Yeah.
The Darkness.
Yeah, they're from Lowestoft. Yeah. Yeah, I still not sure, but it looks like they putting some good effort into it at least. They're giving it the old college try.
Yeah.
Because now I'm interested in all the trailers for all these games that I don't actually care about. But the triangle strategy, like, still can't tell if this will affect the score, because this is my counter pick. But the writing seems terrible.
Well, I mean, it's definitely got that kind of like, I guess, square writing. It's like,
Yeah,
they do tend to do that kind of in that same way in all of their Final Fantasies and whatnot.
And like the graphics thing, it's like, it's weird because it's like, okay, so it's pixel art, but it's 3D. So it's like, the same way that pixel art is harkening back, but to like 8-bit games.
They've got a name
This
for that,
seems
haven't
like
they? Square have the like,
HD 2D.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
HD 2D, but it's like is it supposed to be an aesthetic harkening back to a PlayStation 1 game? Is that a good idea? It just looks like it has bad textures.
I mean,
It's like
that's
really
not been the first time that's been attempted.
It basically looks exactly like Final Fantasy Tactics, and that's what it's trying to be.
Yeah.
right. Well, that's fine then. I just think it's like because it's got like. I suppose they compensate by having like really crazy lighting and stuff.
Yeah, that's what the HD 2D is about, really.
A lot of lighting,
It's
pixely
weird.
bump maps, heavy use of depth of field.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to kind of spruce it up. I don't know. I guess it's a look. I guess.
Because I
don't think.
I think
Yeah.
it almost looks better in this isometric perspective than it did with the actual 2D of Octopath.
Right.
Because in
Right,
Octopath,
okay.
it was just like, it was basically just parallax almost. It's just like, it's making a 2D scene look slightly fancier by just moving elements into the distance almost. Whereas in this, it's like, it is at least an actual 3D world, even if it's represented in
is.
pixels.
Yeah.
So I think the lighting effects go slightly further in that aspect.
Yeah. I mean, Tactics was, as you say, Tactics was already semi 3D anyway. in
Yeah,
its
because it was
presentation.
isometric.
Yeah. Well, it actually,
just-
it used polygons
It
didn't
used
for the
polygon
world.
and then sprites for everything else.
Yeah. So maybe it's a better fit. And I mean, what was that game? That game I hated with the terrible music. That like another game I hated with that was like a roguelike RPG. It's like Star Commandos or something. But that had an almost similar aesthetic, right? It was pixel art but presented in a 3D world, with where all the textures were pixely as well. And I think there's a few other games that are due out this year that also have that kind of aesthetic. That it's like the world has 3D elements, but they're all done in a pixely way. Man, if we're really thinking about it, like, no, I can't remember the name of that either. But there was that weird game where you're like wandering around and all the world like kind of reacts to you in music-y kind of way. Sort of like an indie title years ago. Damn, I've lost it. But yeah, you walked around a planet and like it was all. Everything was like it was 3D, but all of the things in it were very pixely.
Well, there was the only thing that I can feel that's sort of like that was Proteus, but that's not
No, that's what I'm thinking of.
really.
Yeah.
I mean, that was. I don't think that was. Was that actually meant to be pixel art, or was it just low resolution?
I mean, it wasn't running at a low res. If that like,
Well, but
technically.
was it meant to look like it was running at a low res?
Yeah, I don't know. But all the art in that was kind of very pixely, wasn't it? Like,
Well, yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, it could have just been because of a weird low res filter rather than intentional pixel art.
I'm gonna give them the benefit of doubt.
I don't remember it well enough because it is a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a while. Wasn't things like the last? Oh, I suppose you could argue things like Backbone were kind of in this domain, right? That the pixel art, but with a little bit more. It's not quite to the same length as HD 2D, but
Well, I mean, pretty much.
and the Last Night. And,
Pretty much anything that uses like character sprites in any kind of non-sprite based world is going into this. Pokemon, basically, apart from like from 2 generations ago before they moved to full 3D. When they were doing their
yeah.
transition between sprites and 3D, there was the period where they were doing that, where it's like the world was 3D, but you still had the pixel art.
Yeah, and does it count if it's just sprites like Paper Mario?
Yeah, like
Or
rasters.
Yeah, or
instead of pixel art.
indivisible and something like that. Or 2.5D.
Yes, that's what it used to be called before HD 2D came along and
Yeah.
fucked it up.
It's definitely a style, and yeah, I think I like it as a style. Hope the game's good though. That's the Fantasy League.
yeah,
Well, there'll be more
that's
updates
all.
through the year to see how this carries on as games come in and as bids are made and as slots are filled. We've got many more slots we need to fill in our teams.
Somehow.
Well, we don't need to fill them, but like, yeah, you can before the end of the year.
Does even have games come out to fill these? I guess so.
Well, there'll be more reveals and shadow drops.
Yeah, that's true.
Shadow drops are a problem, right? Because you don't have enough time to actually put them on your team.
Yes, because as we previously discussed about it, it's like the bidding system is based on real time, and it is like you have until Thursday to put them in, and then it goes through on Saturday or whatever. So
it's effectively a week delay, isn't there?
So you definitely don't have, and if there is some kind of shadow drop that happens on like Thursday evening, you might be completely boned.
Yep.
Because you won't see it in time.
Yep. Yeah, a little extra wrinkle to your podcast for the next year.
Well, rarely anyway. Whenever there's actual updates to be had.
Yeah, we'll check in with Sifu and Ollie Ollie World and probably Total War, Warhammer 3, and King of Fighters 15, in fact, and Horizon Forbidden West, in fact. Next podcast.
Next podcast. In the meantime, should we get back to the regularly scheduled programming of what have you been playing?
Of the podcast.
Yeah. Rob, I think you better tell us about Yakuza.
Because that's definitely what Rob's been playing.
Yakuza 4!
I can tell by him not playing anything else.
I finished it. I finished the main story. I got to the point where I think I mentioned last podcast. I was at the point in the chapter called Finale, where basically like all 4 characters had become available to me. And what that basically meant was there's like, here's your chance to go do all the sub stories.
Yeah.
Which, as it turns out, there was a lot of them. And I think it's worth pointing out. I think that's kind of been a problem with most of the Yakuza games, that like there's a lot of sub story stuff, like a lot, and it doesn't always necessarily fit into the flow of the story, in the sense that it's like when you can do them and when you can't do them sometimes feels like it's at odds with the actual pacing of the main plot line, and that's very much the case here, where it's like, okay, you get this breather, but then you go and do like what is an absurd number of sub stories before like something that's supposed to be taking place that evening.
Well, it seems like they kind of boned themselves in this game story specifically by having these like 4 characters who are all separated and have their own reasons, and then you essentially have to get to the point where they're all together to even be able to let you out to do all these sub stories. So they've kind of very limited the area of the game that these bits can fit.
Exactly.
But then they still wanted to cram in as many as they usually do.
Theoretically, a lot of those, most of the sub stories I could have done during the
first
4 parts. Yeah. Or before I get the ability to switch between characters and things like that. There aren't many of them that rely on you having already done a thing with another character.
Right.
I mean, I've only come across that I think like once or twice, where the game actually recognizes that, where I like had already done and already completed a thing with Saejima, for instance, and then Kiryu encounters the same character that Saejima was dealing with, and is like, "Oh, you guys know each other? Oh, cool." And like the game acknowledged that fact, and it's but I'm not entirely sure that was a gate to progress, but it did sort of realise that was a thing. Yeah, there was a lot more side stuff than I expected. The finale was kind of lame, if I'm honest, this time around.
No.
Like it feels like it was just pulling from the playbook of the previous 3 games. It's like there wasn't particularly anything new and interesting about it. It's like even what you might argue is the one like minor twist to it, not very twisty this time.
Okay.
Then I guess the game ends in a slightly ambiguous place as to Kiryu's role in the Yakuza. Again, I wasn't quite sure they spelt it out. Like what's he doing? So yeah, there's some room for maneuver on what Yakuza 5 might be. It might be something different. But yeah, I think that generally the story in this one has been the weakest of the 4 so far, and it's I'm really hoping 5 when I get around to playing that picks it up a little bit, because I wouldn't say the stories are like quality writing through and through, but they're normally mad enough, right? Like they're wild and crazy enough that like, if you are invested, you can have those like, oh damn moments when some crazy callback is made, or some like ridiculous, almost inexplicable twist happens. And it's like, yeah, the wildness was missing from this one. even in the sub stories, really, even in the side stuff, there just weren't the super crazy moments. I encountered a couple more, I guess, comedy lines, but it was a little bit flat this time. That would be my assessment.
And this is despite having multiple playable characters, like compared to previous games.
Yeah, I mean, it suffers a little bit, I think, from the fact that I started with the Kiwami games, right? Because the multiple playable characters actually represent kind of the 4 fighting styles that Kiryu adopts in the first game. In Yakuza Kiwami 1, you get the ability to expend 4 different fighting styles of Kiryu's. And as it turns
Did you
out...
not get that in the original game before?
No, I don't think you did. I don't think you did in the non-Kiwami one.
So they went back and added that after 4, right, to the first game through Kiwami.
And they dropped that for Kiwami 2, so you only had like Kiryu's style in 2. But in Kiwami 1, you have these 4 fight styles that you're leveling up simultaneously and independently. And and I can now see where those come from, if that makes sense. The 4 characters in this game are those fight styles, pretty much. I don't know.
So if you'd been playing 4 when it came out, then you'd be like, wow, there's new fight styles.
Yeah, probably. It probably would have been a bit more, had a bit more impact. But it wouldn't have taken away from, as I say, like the downgrade in sub stories in general. And it's like, they made Kamurocho a little bit bigger this time, like in terms of like it has the underground parking is a place. The mall has been opened up. There's rooftop areas you can access now that weren't available in the previous game. But as a result of that, you've lost other locations, like you've lost Okinawa and you've lost which is a whole like separate little area. Like it's just Kamurocho this time round. What they've taken away hasn't necessarily improved things in the end. I did go and play some of that there golf, just to give that a go. Like I said, which is not new to this game, but I gave it a go again this time round, and it's one of those. Like a lot of things in Yakuza, surprisingly well executed, but not executed well enough to keep you that interested.
Yeah, oh my god, this is better than you'd expect from a minigame, but like not good enough to be a game. Yeah,
exactly. So I played a. I'm terrible at it as well, which doesn't help. But it's like I played a couple of. It's a 9-hole course. Tried a couple of tournaments on it. Did nearly came last both times. Against AI random number generators, and that was all right. And so I tried one of the new things that they added, which is the table tennis game, which this Yakuza has a bit of a history of being a bit lecherous at times, and this is like probably one of the worst cases of it, and it's in a table tennis game.
Not in the companion stuff.
I can immediately see where this is going because of the classic table tennis pose that you stand in order to receive table tennis balls at the end of a tennis table.
Yep, I think you've kind of nailed that.
Hit the nail.
There's a mechanic of some importance that makes it even worse. So when you're playing they've abstracted away the need for you to actually position yourself. So you don't have to move around the table to position Kiryu to play a game of tennis as you might expect. You're only really pushing the button to hit the ball with the right timing. And there's a little on-screen flash when is the appropriate moment to do that, which is okay, fine, simplify it. That's okay. But so there's a heat gauge, which is not unusual for the rest of you. Like the heat gauge is like your special meter, but it goes up over time. But when you hold the left trigger, what it effectively does is it zooms the camera in on your opponent's bosom area, and you can hold it there for the longer you're able to have a sneaky look, the more your heat gauge goes up. And the more you do it, the more disheveled the opponent slowly becomes. But they're wearing a kimono because, of course, this table tennis bout is happening in a hot spring.
Right.
It's. So
this is like worse than Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball, right?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, but
That didn't have a heat meter when you
well,
did
Dead
this.
or Alive just starts with boobs,
Yeah.
whereas this is like
It
progress towards boobs.
Yeah, it begins. You got to earn the boobs in this one.
I mean, technically,
Right.
you've had to earn more boob in Dead or Alive, I guess. You can get the skimpier costumes eventually.
Yeah, I suppose you did have to work for those. Yeah, it's. But the thing is like.
I can't believe that game existed and that your brother bought it for you.
Well, I
One
ended
of
up.
them.
Yeah, no, I can't remember. I got gifted one from friends I got gifted the first one from friends at uni, and then I think my brother got me like Dead or Alive Extreme 2. Is there like 4 of those now? Like anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Shocking.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So the funniest thing about any of that element to Yakuza, right, is but like the remaster is basing it off the original is just upscaling the original PS3 era graphics. And that graphics engine really isn't very attractive. Like the people in it like don't look that hot. Like other than the main characters, like the like I guess grizzled Yakuza guys, which like have fairly decent models. Everyone else, it's really real ropey. So like if you're coming into this trying to get a little bit of arousal, it's not going to work. it's not going to work. It doesn't earn that. It doesn't look good enough for that either.
Shocking.
What a mess. Yeah. But the biggest problem I think I had with it in the end, and the reason why I haven't like tried to get to it once I finish the story, I haven't really gone back to it, is because it's kind of broken in that a lot of the achievements didn't pop for me. So there are things like I could tell something was wrong when I got the achievement for complete 40 sub-stories before I got the one for completing 20 sub-stories, which I never got. So it's like, oh, I can't earn that now, can I?
Oh, that's annoying.
And like, yeah, I played all the casino games. That achievement didn't pop. And I did a few other things. Like I completed all the training for one guy, and that achievement didn't pop. And it's like, yeah. So, but whereas a lot of them did. So it's like, okay, you're not really incentivizing me to carry on with this when you're probably the weakest Yakuza game I've played so far. And I can't even get the achievements for doing that, for exploring the breadth of your systems. So I probably won't.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer, is that?
Yeah. I mean, I still had a good time with it overall, but it has problems. It has problems this time round. Holding out hope for 5, baby.
Right, you're not going straight up to 5.
No,
are
I'm
you?
not going straight into it.
Oh, you could do.
I mean, I could, but I haven't. What I've actually started playing is I guess you could call it a Series X launch title in the form of Immortals: Phoenix Rising, which I got given as a present not that long ago. I thought, well, let's actually play this thing, because it's always carried a little bit of a I think this looks all right kind of notion in my head. Like,
Right.
It's I guess it's best described as Ubisoft's attempt at a Breath of the Wild game based on Greek mythology.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be called
remember
Gods and
this.
Monsters before it,
Right.
like while it was in development, and then they changed it
It's a
to
better name.
Yeah, it is a better name. Yeah, Immortals: Phoenix Rising is a terrible name, but
Yeah.
it's in fact Gods and Monsters is reduced to being an early Quest name, so it's still there. So yeah, I've been trying to work out what is the easiest way to describe this without being too comparative to Breath of the Wild, but that's impossible.
Well,
Because it
also
wears-
compare it to a bunch of Ubisoft games.
Yeah, because that's kind of the problem. It is the Ubisoftification of Breath of the Wild, and not much more than that. It wears the inspiration like so blatantly.
Like, you still climb towers, but now you get icons because it's an Ubisoft game.
Not quite. So they've changed that slightly. Like you can climbing the tower still reveals the map, but what it doesn't do is reveal items on the map. In order to reveal items on the map now, you have to effectively go into Eagle Vision you know, like hold down like R stick, and then you go into like first person view mode, and then you look at very vague areas of the world, and then you'll get like a hot cold system to be like, there's a thing here, and then you pull the trigger and it goes, oh, there's a chest over there, and it'll hide. Then the icon appears. So you've got to go through a lot of extra work to get those icons now. But the problem with that system is it's not even it. I guess it's trying to evoke the Breath of the Wild. I can see a thing over there.
Yeah.
Except the problem is like this is
You can't actually see it.
No, it's not line of sight.
No.
Like you can like it's distance from you, so you can just look at a patch of dirt and be like, oh, there's actually a thing like a kilometer away from me through this hill.
Yeah.
So
Telling you that it's in that vicinity.
so it's a little flawed in that respect, and you can still pin stuff in the same way that you could in Breath of the Wild, but that's not as meaningful here. So there's that. It also, the way the game opens is pretty similar as well. There's like a 2-hour segment of the game where you're limited to a bit of the map, and then you go climb a thing, and then it goes, and here's the rest of the world. And it's like, you're off the Great Plateau. Now you can go anywhere you want. But I quite like how they visually like limit you there, because it's all when at the very start of the game it's kind of all foggy and smoky and cloudy, and you can't really see very far into the landscape. And then when they do the sort of like, and now the prologue's over moment, the weather has cleared as part of your actions, and it's like, and then suddenly you can see the expanse of the world, and it's like, oh, actually, okay, you've done that quite well. It's like it's a nice little visual thing they did. And also in other things that are like sort of inspired, I suppose, the bad guy is a generic monster that has bright red bits on it. Like it looks he's called Typhon this time, and he's got a voice, because everything has a voice in this. And but even that, like the color palette of the bad guy, like the sort of dark black with kind of like red neon look to it, like a little bit like Calamity Ganon. It's like, yep, okay, you've just totally stolen that as well. Shrines now called like Tartarus holes or something. I can't even remember Vault of Tartarus, that's it. They're basically holes in the ground you jump into, and then they're like little puzzly bits where you earn a thing at the end of them. And it's like, yep, those are just straight up shrines, and each one of them also has a bonus crate in it, like a bonus chest, exactly like the shrines from Breath of the Wild. It's like, it is trying so hard to be that game, and in fairness to it, it's not bad. It isn't, like, at no point in any of this have I sort of thought this is a bad game. It's like, it's just not Breath of the Wild. Like, this is like the one thing I can't get over with this game is like, it's like they're trying, they're cribbing everything, and as a result, it's like it doesn't quite evoke the feeling of it, and nothing in it is as good. Which is an incredibly hard target, in fairness. It's like they aimed high, but they don't quite get there. It's like the combat is fast and kind of fun. It's very easy to do the dodge and get the flurry, an equivalent of flurry rush. It has a stun system, so certain attacks will do more stun damage to a thing, and then they enter a stunned state, and you just do a whole load of damage to them. Blah 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 blah. You have a bow. You have an axe. A massive axe.
Does it have the...
Oh, Dan's gone very quiet. Did you hear that, Zach, or is it just me?
No, it was very quiet.
What's wrong with it?
Oh,
Hello.
He's back.
Sorry, I must have bashed it. What's the... Has it got the weapon damage thing?
No. Conveniently, there's your inventory is like super simple. There's other elements of it. Like while a lot of the systems are there in spirit, most of it is hugely simplified. So it's like you don't have to worry about weapons being down. You get several different weapons that each have a different perk, but like ultimately they're kind of the same. And you get different armor sets as well that do that as well. They'll change what benefit you get to a limited degree. But yeah, they're never going to break or anything like that. It's the same with like crafting and things like that. Basically, there's only like 4 real items you need to worry about picking up, and you turn those into potions in the 4 stats. Like, do you want health? Do you want stamina? There's a stamina bar, and you climb in the same way. Do you want to bolster your health, your stamina, or do you want a defensive buff or an offensive buff? That's all there really is. Like, they've simplified all that down as well. did I mention how much talking there was? There's a lot of talking in this. You have a narrator. They've gone for the narrator thing. So there's like there's Prometheus and Zeus. Zeus is in a bit of trouble because of this whole mess, and so he goes to Prometheus at the start of the game to be like, "You got to help me." And Prometheus is all like, "Let me tell you a tale," and he's like, "Oh God." So what you're hearing is Prometheus regaling the tale of Phoenix to Zeus, and it's kind of done in a very tongue-in-cheek way. Like I think. I seem to remember some people having a bit of a problem with the fact that this game goes for a slightly comedic edge and a light-hearted tone. And, yeah, I mean, it doesn't always work, but I don't think it's terrible. Like, it's okay. It's like, I guess your standard Saturday morning cartoon affair kind of level comedy. Like, it's fine. But not, yeah. I mean, there are some characters I haven't really got on. Like, I don't really like Hermes, but most of them are fine. And the lead's kind of not that interesting either, like your character, Phoenix. But it's fine. It's just kind of fine. It looks quite pretty. I'll give it that. It's got a nice 4K presentation. It's cartoony, like, again, edging towards that Breath of the Wild look, but not quite being that. Or as hyper stylized as that is. It has a nice day-night cycle. There's plenty of like particle effects going on all over the place. Like at night, you've got the fireflies in bushes and things like that, and there's a lot of leaves just blowing around in this. It's supposed to be like the Golden Isle from like Greek mythology. It's like where all the gods hang out.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So Mount Olympus is a place there, and that I'll eventually go to. And I'm in kind of Aphrodite's Valley right now. Mucking about there. It's all right, is what I'm trying to say. It's all right. Maybe if you want that that's a very simple Breath of the Wild itch scratched that's not Breath of the Wild, maybe this is the thing. Or just wait for the sequel.
Or just play Breath of the Wild again.
Or just play again. That's what I'm doing.
Or, attempt to finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you competently rip off one of the best games ever, you probably have an okay game.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it... At no point do I feel this is an innovative product, but...
I mean, as long as you rip off Breath of the Wild better than Balan Wonderworld ripped off Mario Odyssey, you'll be okay.
Yeah. They've done all right here. Yeah, I'm going to carry on with it. It's okay. I get that same problem that I get with a lot of, like when a game is good enough, right? You don't really want to. You get settled into this open world routine, and you don't really want to put the controller down. It's like oh, there's a thing like 100 meters away. I'll just get that. Oh, now there's a thing like it's a little bit further on from that I've spotted, and I'm like, oh, let's go do that. And you just kind of keep doing that ad infinitum.
Yeah,
and it's
a good loop.
It draws you in. It really does.
Yeah, it's cleverly designed.
And I think it's more. I think it's more successful than, I guess. I'm trying to think what the most recent Ubisoft-y open worldy game I actually played. It's probably like Black Flag.
Right, because I guess the recent one would be Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right?
Valhalla, yeah, but I haven't played Origins or Odyssey either on the Assassin's Creed front. So it's like I haven't really seen what current Ubisoft open world is like. But if it's anything like this,
it's changed much. Yeah.
But if it's anything like this, yeah, hey, the loop is satisfying.
Oh yeah.
It's okay.
Right. Immortals Phoenix Rising.
I got one more thing I want to mention because I had to know. Please, yeah, this is not a hill I wish to die on, but I had to know. I played Wipeout Rush, which is now, played being a slightly odd term, which is now known as Wipeout Merge.
Ooh, okay.
It's that crappy
What's the
mobile
deal?
game that
Oh no.
that came out. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. It's I didn't sort of really gather what it was from when it first came out. Like I thought it was like I knew it wasn't going to be like a Wipeout game. I knew it wasn't going to be racing or anything like that. I'd heard it involved cards and like was some other completely different thing. What I didn't realise is that it's an idle game. Apparently the subgenre of idle game known as a merger, that I didn't know was a thing, where you're basically like getting drops every now and then. There's like, this is a level 1 drop. Oh, I've got another level 1 drop. Great, I'll merge those two together to create a level 2 drop. The number went up. Yay! With a few extra like little wrinkles thrown in, like random things happen, and if you press the screen and things blow up, and then you'll get money, and then an ad will play, and if you watch the whole ad, then you'll get like some. Oh, it's terrible! Oh my god!
Yep, sounds depressing.
Oh my god! Just why did you make this thing? Like, it's just like.
Because money.
I'm not even sure there's really any money in this. Like, it's just an idle game.
Speaking of garbage mobile games, and also my favourite topic, complaining about YouTube adverts. The last 2 years have been plagued by a couple of what have been basically proven to be scam games. Well, proven to a certain level would be scams, where basically the adverts on YouTube will show a certain bit of gameplay or a certain style of gameplay, I guess you could say. And then when people went and actually looked at these games, they discovered that basically that what they show is about a 20th of the game, and the rest of it is just bullshit mobile idle game microtransaction hell. So basically they're trying to lure you in with the actual bit of gameplay which doesn't actually make up most of the game.
Right.
And so there's been a few of those that have been hanging around on YouTube for like the last couple of years especially. And then at the start of this year, they finally released a new one, I guess, because it's been flooded with ads for that new one, which I'm specifically not saying any names here.
Their new one, of which there's probably 10 that it could be.
Yeah, possibly. But like the thing about this new one is that, so in my quest to have YouTube adverts be slightly less annoying but still exist in my YouTube, I'm just like, well, this is inoffensive enough, I guess. I'm totally immune to this advertising, I suppose, because I know what it is. So I'm just like, well, okay. But then after a while, it was like the only advert that YouTube was playing, and I was just like, well, okay, now I can legitimately be like, stop showing this advert because repetitive, because that's one of the free options that you get for stop seeing this advert.
Is it? Okay.
So I was like, oh, I can do that legitimately. So I did that, but then it turns out that they hadn't just paid for this advert to show up constantly. There's also about 10 different versions of this advert that I gradually progressed through. And the funny thing was, like, they almost all show different gameplay, but it's clearly like it's the same assets, just like massaged into a slightly different gameplay loop, and occasionally weird stolen sound effects. Like there's a Pac-Man sound effect in there, and I'm like, oh, that's clearly stolen. But then, and then as I got further deeper into like deleting all these adverts, for some reason I started getting into ones that were just like lower resolution. It's just like these must just be the ones they don't pay as much for, I guess. YouTube, at this point,
YouTube was so desperate to show you this game because it's like, I guess I wonder if YouTube's algorithm is just like, no, Zach's totally going to be into this. It's like, yeah, no, but he's rejecting all these ads. It's like, oh, show him the low quality ones. Maybe that'll get him.
It was just very weird, but yeah, it's just like. It's these weird bullshit mobile games, but like as you were saying, like apparently there is money in it if they can afford this much fucking YouTube advertising.
Oh, I bet there's money. There's all kinds of idiots out there that don't know real games. Yeah, you heard me. I said it.
Yeah. Also, the other thing that I'm still not going to say the name, but these all three of these most recent ones that I've noticed have the most generic names you can possibly have. And if I even
Clicker of Things,
or pretty much almost
Damager of Souls,
I would play Clicker of Things,
Fucker of Wallets.
It's like if I were to say 3 random game names that I came up with, and one of them was the real one, you wouldn't be able to tell.
Okay.
They're all basically 2 words.
Clash of Gold.
Yeah, it's basically like that, except I guess Clash of Titans and Clash of Clans, they're like real games.
Idle Kings,
or for certain definitions of real. And then the other thing that was weird about, or I found...
Gemstorm.
Yeah. That I found slightly funny about this one is the little sort of tagline thing that goes on the little the non-video ad part of the advertisement on the YouTube sidebar, the little tagline that goes under the name of the game is they've just put Game of 2021.
Wow.
Not Game of the Year, just game.
A game of 2021.
It's a game.
Also,
That's real clever.
that's doubly funny because I literally hadn't seen adverts of it until 2022 when they started appearing.
This is a game. This is the follow-up to a game of 2021.
It's a game of 2021.
That's brilliant.
I don't know if that's actually intentional, like they're trying to like do misleading marketing, or whether that's just someone was really dumb.
That's brilliant. I like that.
So yes,
Okay.
that is the state of bullshit mobile games advertising on YouTube, and somehow still making money apparently. So don't worry about Wipeout's bullshit mobile game.
There's plenty more to pick from. I mean, I guess at least this actually does have, the Wipeout,
License.
and the actual Wipeout crafts are in it, and the actual Wipeout tracks are in it. It's nonsense, but they have the assets. But I guess the most interesting thing about it is the fact that they're re-rendering the whole thing in a comic book art style,
Right.
like with pop-up speech bubbles and like the cars talking to each other as they drive around the track.
That's so...
And they'll go into a particular tight turn and it will just say "wahoo" over the car in comic book text. It's really odd. It's really odd.
It's definitely not the tone you would imagine for Wipeout's universe.
Wahoo!
You would have-
Wipeout has the least emphasis on who's fucking driving the things.
Yeah.
of any of those.
It's like,
games.
and if you were
they've
to
only-
imagine that the people exist inside Wipeout cars, you're imagining F1 drivers who
Yeah.
are very neutral.
Yeah.
They've only ever done that once, I think, involve the pilots, and that was Wipeout Fusion on the PS2, which was it called Fusion?
Sounds like
Yeah,
possibly.
Sounds right.
It was the PlayStation 2 one anyway, and I think
No one liked that one. Anyway.
yeah, it's supposedly the weakest of the bunch. I've never played it actually. I probably should.
Although Wipeout 64 people did like either, but yeah, that's because the frame rate's too bad.
Yeah, I never played. I probably should play Fusion. Go see if I can acquire it. I have to know.
2097 and Wipeout 3, and that's where it's at. And then Pure was good, and then HD was just Pure, but on PS3.
Pulse was good too.
Yeah, Pure. And
I mean,
Pulse.
they're all pretty good. They're all some level of good, really. I don't know if any of them, apart from this one, I could wholeheartedly say that's a bad game.
No, but there's definitely weaker entries in the series. And Fusion would be one of them.
But Fusion's probably sounds like it, yeah. What about Merge?
Yeah, don't
Just don't.
Just don't merge. Stay in your lane.
Stay in the regular racing lane.
Right, it's Zeg's turn.
Oh, he'd already begun.
You started with the what you've
YouTube
been watching on
segment,
YouTube. No, it's what you've been playing.
And I guess this week we don't really have anything particularly new to say about Hyrule Warriors.
No, I guess we
It's been
don't.
continuing.
We had a lot of difficult side stuff to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's getting pretty tough now.
It's getting to the point where it's just boss fights every mission.
Yeah. We've had to fight the Blights again.
Ugh, yeah. Did we do all of those or did we only do two? I forget. Because the third one we thought was a double blight, but it wasn't actually.
It wasn't actually the Blights. Yeah. I think we've done 2 of the 3. Maybe.
Even though there should be 4, which is why we thought that one was a double
We
blight.
did the fiery one and the icy one. And
And the lightning one is the third one. Because they're doing it by element, that's why
No,
there's...
we did do that. We did do that.
Yeah, I guess we did.
Yeah,
Because
so-
that's why there's 3, and that's why we thought that one was a double, but the icon, what we thought was the 4th blight wasn't. The icon was, we couldn't see what it was. So I guess we're just not going to fight the 4th blight again.
Not yet. It will come up at some point.
Well, maybe. Who knows, maybe we'll fight them again in the main story.
Probably. This game does have a tendency of being like, you've done that before, right? Do it again.
But
With
now
some
it's
others.
electric.
And there's other stuff. Yeah, going on.
So yeah, yes. it's a bit of a tricky moment. I think we're starting to focus in on what characters we actually want to use for specific tasks.
Yeah, because there's so many characters now that it's like you can only really realistically focus on the few that you are going to use all the time. We're not grinding everyone up because you might as well just pay to level up the character if you want to play as them.
And also, we've just unlocked a new tier of weapon upgrades as well.
Yeah, you can.
Goddamn! Just when our weapons were maxing out at level 20, and then we've got to the point where it's like, oh wait, now you can go to level 30 just because we allowed you to now.
They can, infuse the weapon with a whole load of materials, and then it will unlock the cap a bit further. Ugh. I mean, it's all good. Like, it's all keep going. It's like I quite like this game's approach to be like, hey, systems keep coming.
Yeah.
It's like we're this far into it, and the systems keep coming.
And I still think there's more from the accidental spoilers that I've got.
Don't say a word.
It maybe has a slight problem with weirdly being constrained by Breath of the Wild's menus. Because like that weapon crafting combining menu could be way easier to manage if it wasn't having to stay in Breath of the Wild's style.
Yeah, I mean, there's elements of it that are a bit awkward. Yeah, for sure. But it's not.
I think the number one problem with it is it has as bad a sorting method as Breath of the Wild's inventory sorting methods, where you have two sorting methods where it's like most powerful and weird arbitrary mode.
Or it seems to be like. And if you don't touch it, it's just order you acquired, right?
I don't know if it does that, does it?
Yeah, I think it is.
Oh, order that you acquired by weapon type, though, right?
I'm not even sure about that. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's just shove it anywhere, who cares?
But, like, either of those ordering systems are... Well, I mean, the power one is marginally helpful, but the trouble is that, like, most of the time you don't care about that. You care about what the seals are.
Yeah.
If you could sort it by like seal shape, that would make things way easier.
That would be quite useful.
That would be more awkward when they have multiple seals, but just stack all the ones with multiple seals separately and have all the ones with single seals, which are the trash that you're going to combine anyway. Have those be sortable.
Seal power then shape.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're getting the pluses and the plus pluses.
Plus pluses and the occasional like special ones. Yeah.
Goddamn.
It continues to entertain.
Yep. We've still got many more hours to put in, on top of the 60 that we already have.
That's quite a large number now.
Speaking of playing games for 60 hours...
Right.
I did 2 whole run-throughs of Dyson Sphere program.
Oh, God, really? In the last 2 weeks?
I guess, maybe? Or was that the first half of the... Because I talked about it last time. I was talking about the restrictions, right?
And the bug to the grids.
Yeah, I guess I must have just started that run before the start of the last podcast, so maybe like a day or two before.
But still, Jesus.
Well, but then that was the thing. So I did the run with the restrictions, where it's like no solar sails, no terrain editing, and no mining the rare resources. And so I got through that. I was trying to get through that just for those achievements, but I was also trying to get through that fast because obviously it's like I just want to get those achievements done and then be done with that. So I wasn't bothering to worry about how I was going to continue that save or anything. And then so I got through that in like 35 hours to what it calls the end.
Oh, it's just 35 hours, just a working week.
Yeah. So I got through that, but then it was like, okay, but then what about the speedrun achievements? Because the speedrun achievements are like the slow speedrun is 25 hours and the fast speedrun is 10 hours. And there's also like a weird mini speedrun for like leave the planet in under an hour, which is probably better to do that separately as well. So I started in another run where I was just like, well, I'm not going to try and speedrun, but I'm going to play through it without having these restrictions just to see if I'm trying to be relatively fast, how fast can I be? And then if I wanted to try and get the speedrun achievements, how much planning would I actually have to do to make that happen? So I got through this second, like, unrestricted, normal gameplay run, and that was like 10 hours faster. So I got through it in like 28 hours, but that's still 2 hours too slow for the slowest speedrun.
Jeez.
So I think
2 hours. you missed the mark by 2 hours. I mean, it's not often you hear like time challenges be that far out.
Well, I mean, as I said, I wasn't like super trying. I probably easily could have made 25 if I had been actually trying a bit harder.
I guess it's just
There was definitely a lot of idle time.
it's just a notion of the absurdity of this game in some ways. It's like,
Yeah, and that's without even going to like the scale achievements. The large scale achievements are even more ridiculous, where it's just like make fucking 40,000 of this item per minute, and like my speedrun base at the end was making about 8,000. So I'd have to even scale up this whole base that I've just built to like 4 times the size to get that achievement.
jeez.
And that's one of the small scale achievements, because the large one is like upload 1 million units of data per minute, I think. And I think that's like 20 times as big as what my base was doing.
Oh my gosh.
But that's kind of that side is kind of the point of this game, though, right?
This is making me anxious.
Because it's all about making like you want to make the dice sphere, you want to make everything huge. It's all about scaling up, because that's what factory games are about. In the end, is making blueprints and then just copying them and scaling everything up a lot.
Factory games, they're all about copy and paste.
Yeah, pretty much. Which is why when I was thinking about the speedruns for this, I was like, well, I'm going to need to pre-make blueprints so that I can basically just be like, just drop them in and have them get filled out. Mm-hmm. But that's
Turning it into an idle game.
well, kind of. The trouble is that, like, in Factorio, if you're dropping blueprints like that, by the time that you have the robots to be able to do that, because you still have to progress some way into Factorio to get those, those robots are scalable themselves. So you could just dump more robots into the system and then build larger blueprints faster. Whereas in Dyson Sphere, you're placing down a blueprint, but it's your personal robots that fly out of you, and those are upgradable through the tech tree, but they're very limited upgrades. You can't just have as many as you can make,
Right.
like Factorio. So even with blueprints, you still have to, like, there is some amount of prioritization, I guess. So that'd be another element of planning to be like, and then again, the other problem of you'd have to be going up the tech tree, so you're probably going to need specific blueprints for early game tech versions of things, and then different blueprints that you're going to redeploy later on.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to bother trying for those speedrun achievements. I think the
That sounds
25-hour
like
one
such
might
a-
happen at some point, but not the 10-hour one probably.
I know I don't really enjoy these sorts of games, but that sounds, even within the context of your enjoyment of these games, that doesn't sound like that much fun.
Well, the thing is, like, I was trying to think about the Factorio speedrun achievements, because I got those like a long time ago, and the actual progression of Factorio has changed quite a lot since I did them. And the Factorio fast speedrun achievement is like 8 hours, which I did in one sitting actually on that day. I even know exactly what day that was, because that was the day No Man's Sky came out, and I went immediately from end of my Factorio speedrun into No Man's Sky.
What a day.
Yeah, that was a weird day. But yeah, the Factorio speedrun, when I did it, it was still at the point where you had to kill enemies because they dropped a specific alien artifact, and then you used that to do certain bits of the research in the tech tree. So you had to have the aliens on, and you had to be able to kill a certain amount of them at a certain point in the game. Whereas in modern Factorio's tech tree, they basically separated the military tech out and got rid of the idea of the enemies dropping anything. So you wouldn't even have to make military science packs, and you wouldn't even have to have the enemies turned on to finish the game now. So I don't know whether that speedrun is actually easier now than when I did it or not, or whether other things that have changed in the meantime have made it different.
That's probably before Factorio version 1 as well, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because it didn't actually come out that long ago. I think I did it on like point 12 or point 13. It was probably after point 12, because point 12 was when I moved to Steam, and then the achievements were on Steam, obviously. So it must have been after point 12. But yeah, I don't know. Those kind of, when you've got these speedruns for these kind of games that are just like, they are 8 or 10 hours. I mean, the actual real speedrun of Factorio is like 2 hours, I think.
Wow. That's quite absurd.
Yeah. but that is very much like it's not quite blueprints because again in Factorio you have to get a certain amount into the tech tree before blueprints are really useful. They're more like memorized blueprints, I guess. Like you're building a thing manually, but you already know the exact layout. And then very specific world generation where basically you start the game and you spawn immediately on a giant field of ore. So you don't even have to move to start mining or anything.
Okay, so they've got a seed for that, like.
And like basically all the ore fields intersecting right next to where you spawn, so you can just like reach over and grab all the different kinds.
Okay,
that kind of thing, and all super rich, so they never run out. But yeah, those kind of speedruns are pretty ridiculously specific. But that's another element where you won't be able to do that in Dinosphere Program because of the way it spawns you in a specifically designed solar system. I mean, it's still randomized, but it's like you're always going to land on a watery Earth-like planet orbiting a gas giant, and on that planet there's not ever going to be any silicon and titanium. Those are going to be on the other planets in this solar system. So there's always going to be a certain amount of you'll have to get to those parts of the tech tree as fast as possible in a like low-tech way or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, you probably would have to find a very specific seed in Dinosphere Program to make that as optimal as possible.
But even then, it sounds like the game's generation restrictions will make that hard.
Yeah, you're never going to be finding as like the ultimate seeds like you could in Factorio, where you just be able to do everything immediately.
There'll still be some distance away from you,
and also finding seeds in Dinosphere Program is, because of that system, a pain in the ass because you have to progress so far into the tech tree to be able to even see what's in your solar system to find out whether it's a good seed or not.
You don't even know if it's good, right?
I mean, you could probably just like go on a Reddit thread or something and just be like, what are the good speedrun seeds for Dinosphere Program? I'm sure someone will tell you.
Yeah.
Because by now someone will have already done that work. It's a bit weird because like when you say you wanted to look at a seed in Oxygen Not Included, because there's randomly generated worlds in that, someone made basically a script that just it's sort of a mod, I suppose, but it like no UI runs the game in the background and just generates worlds and then outputs that as a file as data, and then they uploaded that to a website so you can just browse the seed list.
That's kind of cool.
And you can even search that list as well. They've made it a searchable database, so you can just be like, I want these types of geysers and these type of other planets or whatever, and then just search it. I'm not sure that
you get a diamond geyser.
Yeah. Well, can you get a great diamond geyser? I don't know. You can get diamonds. I don't think you can get them out of a geyser.
Missed opportunity.
We'd mod that in.
Definitely should.
But yeah, that's a very. I'm not sure whether they ever updated that for the DLC though, which is kind of unfortunate. It's great for the base game, but it did kind of rely on. Even though it was a more automated system, it did rely on basically people willingly downloading that mod and then just running it in the background for a while to generate the data to upload to the website.
Yeah, and then uploading it.
Yeah. So yeah, seeds in games, always very awkward.
Seeds.
Find those Minecraft seeds. You just see those weird videos of like finding Minecraft seeds based on just on an image.
Oh, right. I see what they'd look at a bit of the... Yeah, I think you've talked to me about this before. They'd just look at a bit of world and go, oh, I wonder what they use.
Yeah, it's like there was some... I think the last one they did was like the icon for the default Minecraft skin in the skin selector in Minecraft. It's just like a little tiny screenshot of like a part of a world. And so they took this like 400 by 400 pixel screenshot and then like reverse engineered to get the seed out of it.
Wow.
Which was pretty insane.
That is quite insane. Because you'd probably... Maybe it doesn't happen, but like I wonder if you like looked at one part of a landscape in Minecraft and then were like okay, there's actually like 40 billion seeds that this specific bit of land, but it's still because of random like it actually probably could have been like that, and the world around it is wrong.
Well, I think
or not the same.
I think that's sort of what happens because in Minecraft there are certain. The way they can even get to that point of being able to work it out from screenshots in Minecraft is that like there are certain things that are like north-south aligned, so you can work out which direction the screenshot is, and then from that you can determine like where on the grid the like random generation is like offset or whatever. So there are certain elements that like will give you part of the random generation, and then you do just at a certain point have to do some brute forcing of just like generating stuff and seeing if this one specific tile is what you expect it to be, and then like filtering out results based on that, basically.
Madness.
And of course, you have to know which version of the game that seed was generated in.
Yeah.
Or just guess as the alternative.
Yeah, of course, because I guess that must change relatively frequently.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still talking the Java build here
Yes.
as well, right? Yeah.
But, you know, I'm sure every time they add a new block into the code, that probably changes the random generation on some level.
I bet.
Even if it doesn't even generate in the world.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah, probably changes the dice roll, I guess, like, or the not the dice roll, but you know what I mean, the selector.
Yeah.
That
So that was that, and then I also played a tiny bit more Pokemon. I still haven't really progressed. I'm at the Elite Four now, so I'm basically done almost. Apart from there's a little bit of post game stuff that I do want to see. But I got all the way to the entrance to the Elite Four, and then I was like, okay, I could probably steamroll this with my super over leveled starter Pokemon, but maybe I should actually also have an actual team, just in case.
Maybe I should do this properly.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay, now it's grind mode. Turn off the battle animations.
Right.
Just time for leveling.
You've done with Team Bad Guy then.
Oh, right.
Oh yeah, Team Bad Guy happens before you even get to the 8th gym.
Oh.
But yeah, and then I also was like, as soon as I started grinding, I was like, how can I make this faster? Apart from turning off the battle animations, which was point number 1.
You play it on an emulator with a speed
With a
hack.
speed up, yeah. But then I remembered that there's a specific item you can get where if you like the experience shares experience between Pokemon, there's another item you can get a Pokemon to hold that gives like 50% extra XP on the Pokemon that's fighting. So you can like have that one gain 50% of half the XP that's getting XP shared, I guess. But the trouble with that item is that that's an item that you can only get by stealing it from a wild Pokemon that happens to be holding it. And that wild Pokemon has a 5% spawn chance, and the item has a 5% spawn chance.
Oh, yipe.
So I was just like, well, I guess this, luckily where it spawns is good enough experience that I can still do the grinding while I'm looking for this item.
Grind there and hope you get it, yeah.
Because I remember, as soon as I saw that item, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember I actually got that item in this game before when I was doing this, in the exact same place, because it's right next to the Pokemon breeding center. So you can grind for easy XP and get the item that gives you more XP right there.
Yeah, but a 1 in, well, I guess must be like 1 in 400 chance. That's pretty low.
Yeah. But those that's another one of those weird things in Pokemon where it's just like the unnecessarily hidden information that some Pokemon sometimes has. Where it's like you would never even know that these Pokemon hold items unless, well, I mean, your Pokemon can hold items, so maybe you could infer that wild Pokemon would hold items.
I mean, because you can't physically see
Because you can't see them and there's no like UI icon for it. The only way you can tell is if your Pokemon has the ability Frisk, when it enters battle, it will tell you what the enemy item it's holding is.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So there is that.
So you can frisk them for it.
Yeah, and then you can use the thief ability to actually steal it from them, providing you're not holding an item.
Oh, right. So frisk doesn't actually just give you like it's not this. It's not.
No,
the steal.
it just tells you what it is.
What weird.
Oh, okay.
So is that an ability you can call in a fight as well? Then like does
No,
Frisk have a use, or
it's
is
an
it-
ability.
is it like
It's an ability, which means it's like an inherent thing on the Pokemon, not a move.
Oh, Pokemons have passives.
Yeah, basically.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's a very marginally useful one, except for this one specific purpose. Like, it's occasionally you might see it in some competitive build where it's like you need to know what the enemy is holding before you do a thing, because hold items in competitive are quite important.
Huh. I did not know that. Well, so why would a Pokemon hold an item? Like, what is it? What benefit does it give you in that game? Is it like they automatically use it? Like, or does it affect the timing of when they can use it as opposed to your items?
Well, yeah, because basically you have you have sort of passive hold items that are like the experience share, basically, where it's just like they will do things passively on sometimes in the meta layer of the actual overarching game, but sometimes like per turn in battle. Like you can get ones that like give you a tiny amount of healing every turn, or give you a tiny amount of healing every time you hit, or like stuff like that. And then there's other ones on a similar vein where it's just like it gives you basically stat buffs, where it's just like you can hold a thing that gives all your fighting moves 20% more damage. But then there's the items that you can hold but that are also consumable, which are usually like berries, where you could be like, you can have a berry where if the Pokemon's health goes below half, they eat the berry and regain some health.
Okay, yeah.
So it's like an automatic potion, basically.
Yeah.
And then there's all the different variations of berries where it's just like, if you get hit by a move that would be super effective, you eat the berry and it reduces the damage.
Interesting.
So
I didn't know that layer was a
Farfetch'd
thing.
holding a leak, or
Yeah, you can actually get the leak as an item you can steal from a Farfetch, and then if you give that item to a Farfetch, it improves its attack stats.
Oh my god, what does a
Nice.
Farfetch do if you steal its leak?
Yeah, I don't know. You think that would be? You'd think they'd have 100% chance of spawning with that item as well, but they don't.
I feel is it like some kind of like animal cruelty to like take the leak away from a Farfetch?
Probably.
Farfetch'd.
Like, because what is it then? Is it just a fetched? Like,
Or just a far.
or just a far?
Because it hasn't fetched anything yet.
Sad times.
Used to do a far frisk.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they just immediately die. Like they walk off and they're like,
Well, yeah, maybe. Or they just evolve into a completely different Pokemon because they don't have the leak any longer, so they can't be a Farfetch.
or do they devolve? They turn into like a Weedle or something. They go backwards somehow.
But like the item that I was trying to steal, the XP item, is basically the egg from a Chansey, like the egg that they hold.
Right.
Oh,
But the weird thing about that is that the one that gives you the XP buff is called a lucky egg, and it's 5% chance to spawn. But then 50% chance to spawn on a Chansey is an oval stone, which is sort of what the Pokedex implies that egg is. It's like it's not actually an egg; it's just an oval-shaped stone that they hold.
But every now and then one is an egg.
Yeah, but every now and then one is actually an egg, except not an actual egg, which is then because for some reason the Pokemon world doesn't believe that Pokemon actually lay eggs, even though they clearly do. Even though the daycare center will give you eggs every time you put two Pokemon of different gender in there. But no one ever sees it happen. That's the key.
Right.
That's the lore of Pokemon, is that you put two differently gendered Pokemon in the daycare center and eggs appear, but no one ever sees what actually happens.
No one sees a Pokemon shagging.
Or laying an egg.
Okay. Do they have the equivalent of a romance dance?
Probably. But no one ever knows. I don't know if they ever changed that logic in any of the later games. Like up to X and Y, that was still the case. That was the last game that I played.
Huh.
It's just like it's another one of those weird like Pokemon is for kids things where it's like obviously you can't just say they're shagging. But come up with a slightly different explanation or something, rather than no one looks at any point in the process.
That is one of the, I guess, one of the funnier parts I've come across in Immortals so far was the how they had to gloss over how Aphrodite was actually born,
Right.
and
Or any of the gods in Greek mythology, pretty much.
yeah, they do. They
all
do,
shagging.
they do some interesting glossing over bits, and there's one this one in particular they call out and do one of those like you don't hear all of the conversation,
Right.
and you just have Zeus going, oh, that's disgusting. That was pretty funny. I enjoyed that bit.
That's all I've been doing. Oh, well, apart from a tiny bit of Rocket League and Derg.
Oh, yeah.
Because of season passes, I guess. I mean, I'm way done with the Rocket League one, so I was just playing that because I play Rocket League.
I mean, I got to 70 on League, so yeah, I've only got 40 more levels to go.
In a quarter of the time remaining, I guess. Because they haven't quite unlocked the fourth tier
No,
of
the fourth
season.
tier isn't open yet. But...
And then Derg, their season pass is just so slow. And I was just like, it's like Halo, but worse.
I might actually finish the Halo one in time. I need to stop playing Halo and play more Rocket League.
And Derg.
And then Derg, yeah.
We need to level up. I mean, promote again for the second time.
Yeah.
Which means we have to do a whole other assignment before we can get back to all the other assignments we still need to do with Rob.
Yeah.
God damn it! And you missed out on Chinese New Year. A whole other 5 mission assignment to get a hat and some loot.
That's fine, but I'll give me the hat for free in a year's time.
Yeah.
Um,
When you have to earn the next one.
yeah.
Promote, is that like prestige? Or
Yeah,
whatever?
that is basically prestige.
Kinda, yeah.
You go up to level 25 and then you just reset. Except there's no like actual purpose to it in Derg.
I mean, it unlocked it. I mean, it was important the first time.
Yeah, the first time is important, but every other subsequent time is completely pointless. No bonuses or anything. You don't even get a reward. In fact, I think you always have to pay for it.
That's so dumb. Why would you do that?
But the number goes up, and now you know that's what matters.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I didn't talk about it, but I played a lot of Halo the last couple of weeks. I've been quite a bit at Halo. My opinions haven't changed.
Okay, good.
No.
Because, in fairness, apparently that's kind of one of Halo's problems at the moment. The community's like,
What next?
yeah, come on,
now?
come on, guys, we need something. What else is happening? It's been a while, and I'm like, well, they said the season was going to last until May. I doubt anything that interesting is going to happen until then.
That seems like quite a long time.
Yeah. I wonder if this thing was real, as I say, was pretty hot when it launched, but like it launched early, so
Yeah. Not that early. not that like a whole 6-month wait would be any shorter.
no. Yeah, so that's kind of Halo's thing at the moment is like people are like, hurry it up with some fixes and some changes, please. Or just more levels. That would be nice.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit lacking in levels.
I mean, they'll support it in the long run, but can they keep the player base in the short run?
Absolutely, you've got to hold your momentum is the problem, and at the moment, I think they're losing it. But hey, it's still a hell of a good game.
Yeah.
Although I might have to start limiting how much I play it with Kippers. He gets so very angry.
The anger. Time to mellow.
Probably make a real entertaining stream if he streamed it.
Probably.
Maybe. It depends, because Kipper's anger can get to a certain point where it's just not very entertaining any longer. There's a certain level of anger that's entertaining.
He plays better when he's chill anyway. You just got to remind him of that. Sorry, Kips.
Right, and with that, I think we've timed this rather well for a podcast.
More or less.
Yeah, not too bad.
More or less.
Yeah, so I guess check out our Ocarina of Time Let's Play on our YouTube channmy
With some measure of successes.
Oh my god, my neighbour made me feel so old the other day because he knows. My neighbour's son is about 18-ish. He's about 18-ish, and he's we got talking one time, and I mentioned just like, yeah, we do videos and stuff like that, and of course, and then I told him what we were playing,
TikTok.
and I said, oh, we're playing Ocarina of Time, and he's like, what is that?
Of course you would know.
And I'm like, oh no.
It
And I'm
wasn't
like,
even
you mean like
bored.
Legend of Zelda? And he's like, no, I don't know what that is. I'm like, what?
Okay, that's maybe slightly more surprising.
That's he knows what Mario is, right?
I mean, I guess, but like, yeah, I mean, Mario's like Mario's like top tier, isn't it? Like in terms of like video game recognizability.
Yeah.
Zelda is
I mean,
less so.
yeah, Link and Zelda, they're not quite that echelon. They're pretty high, but like, there's an extra step someone needs to take.
It's true. But is he not? Is that person even into video games at all? Or
Oh yeah, I mean they've been playing video games while I've been there, so you know.
right, Minecraft and
They were
Fortnite.
they were playing
Fortnite. Sorry,
They were playing Forza last time I.
Okay.
Oh, I think on balance, Zelda is more famous than Forza. Wouldn't you say? Even now.
Maybe.
Yeah, but
But it depends what crowd you're in. If you don't touch Nintendo, you'd never know, I guess.
yeah, and also like, does Forza even count as being like a brand that you care about, or is it just like driving games?
Just cars, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe just like cars,
Yeah,
you
fair.
know.
Cool.
But yeah, Ocarina of Time. There will be more video content next week.
Yeah, check it out on our YouTube channel. And if you want Saladcast like this podcast, you know where to find it because you found this one. And there'll be another one in 2 weeks.
I think finding more might be easier now.
It might be pretty easy. You've probably already subscribed, but you know how to do that.
You know, well done, you. You know, yeah.
Yeah, good work. You got the end. Okay, and we'll catch you in a couple of weeks for another Saladcast.
Goodbye.